All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to episode 20. Big old landmark episode here. Jumping into the next wave of things into the 20s. We are here in November for episode 20. We will be talking some fun, spooky stuff because it doesn't end with Halloween.
No.
Never. We made that pretty clear up front. Yeah, we've already
That's
done
right.
a number of spooky things in earlier in the year, and it wasn't even close. So shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, we are here for some fun conversations. Let's go ahead and dive right in and hit the intro. Get the right screen here and get started.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
You the proud, the geeky.
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides. We're here to talk about all things geeky. My name is Tad, and with me, as always, is Peter. We are here for episode 20 of the show. It is crazy. We have chugging along so quickly. Started up back in February. We're about to close out the calendar year in the next little bit, and approaching our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Way quicker than it seems.
Yeah.
This year's been flying.
It has been.
But we're here to talk some fun stuff. But let's dive right into the intro stuff first. First of all, if you want to email us, you can email either of us directly, either at peter@geekeryabides.com or Tad, T-A-D, at geekeryabides.com. Sorry, I just had a mini stroke. Apparently forgot to spell my name. TADD at geekeryabides.com. If you want to email us, we alternate the producing of these shows. I produce the odd ones because I am the odd fella. Peter produces the even ones. If you have any feedback on previous shows, ideas for new shows, feedback on anything, you can hit us up any time with whatever reasons at either of those places. Next up, if you want to next up, let's go ahead and hit up the what have you been watching, reading, playing.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who's going first?
You go first.
All right. So watching, I went and saw The Killer of the Flower Moon the other night, 2 nights ago, Thursday night. So went and saw that, the new Scorsese movie, DiCaprio. I do feel like I deserve some sort of a Xbox Live achievement, 3.5 hour movie, no bathroom break. So it was getting a little bit close there at the end.
Need a achievement unlocked button.
Something. But yeah, no, it was a really good movie though. I really enjoyed it. I've been saying for at least 5 to maybe even closer to 10 years, because early in Scorsese's career, De Niro was his muse, and then around the turn of the century, it became DiCaprio, and never the two have crossed. The two have actually done movies together, but never with Scorsese.
Right.
So I've been saying for ages, when do I get De Niro and Scorsese, or De Niro, Scorsese, and DiCaprio all in the same movie? And here it finally was, and it was great. I actually, going in, did not know what to expect. I don't know why, but I just braced for De Niro to be a smaller part and not be in it much. But no, they were both huge parts of the movie. Also, just going in, just from what I saw of the trailer, I didn't see a lot. I didn't watch a lot of trailers, but it was like, oh, there's murders happening on this Indian reservation, and I'm like, okay. Just in my mind, I'm like, okay, DiCaprio's probably the young investigator going to figure it out. Not at all. Apparently, that's the way that was originally written, and he requested it to be changed, and he is no longer in that role. And I don't know if the trailers revealed any of that, but it was a very interesting role for him. It wasn't such a clean character for him. So, but it was a wonderful movie. Then I've still been binging through ER. I just texted you the other day because someone from Supernatural,
Jared Padalecki,
made their acting debut in an episode I watched. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I wonder who this kid is.
Yeah.
And then then I've been, it's been interesting though, because I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I also had within a couple episodes they had Anton Yelkin as a wee child, and then oh shit, I just blanked on his name. Just Do It. What's his name? Transformers.
Shia
LaBeouf was in one. I think they were back-to-back episodes. I'm just
wow.
like, this is so weird. You just
You're
see
like,
these.
hey, I know him.
Yeah.
Hey, I know him.
Yeah, and then now the show's, I'm at the spot where the show's like been around for a bit, and it's like one of the top shows. So now Sally Field showed up as a parent for one of the people, and I'm like, such a great actor to have on
Yeah.
a television show, especially pre, golden age of television. So, it's been interesting just watching people pop up. And I don't know if I even knew the guy from Supernatural. There was just something about him where I'm like, I don't know. It said introducing, and I'm like, I wonder if he turned into anything. And I was just like, shit, there was a bunch of stuff. And
Yeah.
I hit you up because it said Supernatural, and it said like 300 and something episodes. I'm like, so he's not just like a guest spot in this by any means.
He is
So
one of 3 main characters, that's for sure. So
that's cool. I always like that when you kind of find someone that gets, like a lot of times I see it from the other direction though, where it's like I know the person and I hear like, oh, their first thing they ever did was a freaking episode of MASH or something.
or the X-Files or something.
Yeah, so I'll go seek it out to see, oh, what was that like or whatever. It's very rare that I'm just watching the show and just happen to stumble upon a shitload of people having acting debuts.
He currently has a new show. Did you see what it was?
Uh-uh.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
No, because now, oh yeah, I did actually see that.
Yeah.
I did see that. Yes, that's true. I didn't, because have you noticed IMDb is doing anything now where they're hiding upcoming?
No, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, so every time I go to something upcoming, all the menus
It's, like,
collapse,
expanded.
and it's
It's not
collapsed
expanded.
where you have to expand it yourself, which is like, I guess that's kind of cool because
Interesting.
you don't want to whatever. They really need to figure out shit when it comes to television episodes, like in telling you how many episodes, because I do know there's been times where I've
And
been
which episodes they're in.
well, I've been spoiled before where it's like a main character and you go and look at the cast for the show and it's like 250 episodes, 100 episodes. It's like, oh, I see. This
Yeah.
character is apparently not going to. be
He
here.
doesn't last.
Exactly.
For some reason, he doesn't make it.
Yeah, I don't know why, but they did. Yeah, exactly. And then been watching Loki as well. I think we're second to last episode now. Is I'm assuming it's only 6 episodes.
So last episode was 5. So next episode's the season finale.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 6 episodes. And then reading, I'm still reading the Dark Tower series, but I also picked up and dusted off my ebook of The Making of The Empire Strikes Back. I was in the last tail end of that. So I've dove back into reading that. I actually have sent you a picture. There was a picture I found
did.
of Chewie in full costume, Peter Mayhew leaning on R2-D2, and I'm like, what better picture for Peter than Chewie and R2-D2?
I love Chewie. I love R2.
And those books are great. They're from J.W. Rinsler. They're really in depth. And I've actually never read the New Hope or Return of the Jedi. And I'm probably going to finish once I finish Empire. I'm going to jump right in and read those because it's just a super in depth, granular looking at the making of from conception all the way through the actual release and what happens box office wise.
Yeah.
So they're really in depth. And then still playing Spider-Man 2, really trying to like milk it as much as I can. The last time I loaded, I think I was at like 58%, so getting close to 60%. But I am going through and doing like 100, like doing a lot of the side stuff, like
little side quests
like
and
yeah,
whatnot.
the Riddler trophy
Collect-
stuff,
yeah.
like basically like what would be that in
Yeah.
the Batman games. One thing I thought about though, when it comes to that, so is it Insomniac?
Yeah.
So I know they're working on a Wolverine game,
Mm-hmm.
but like I don't know if I'm excited for that game
Why not?
because both, and this isn't, I know Batman wasn't Insomniac, but like in both cases, the fighting in both those games, I love both the Batman and the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But the combat's my least favorite part of those games.
Yeah.
Like, it's the traversing, it's all the different elements. But when I'm actually in a fight, like I'll do it, it's fine. But it's not my favorite part. And I'm like, but Wolverine doesn't fly. He doesn't web sling. Like some of my favorite parts of like the Batman and the Spider-Man games wouldn't really be there for Wolverine.
Yeah, you got the Batmobile in the Arkham games in Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Where you can launch yourself
Or
up
the grappling
and then you
hook.
glide, or the grapnel
Yeah,
boost and everything.
there's all
And
those-
then Spider-Man's web slinging. I'll say it. It's the best mode of transportation I've ever had in a video game.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, and I'll play it, and I'm not gonna like poo-poo it, but I'm just gonna say that like some of my favorite elements of the Batman and Spider-Man games will not be there for Wolverine because he doesn't. It'll be mostly about combat, I'm guessing, and I'm sure it'll be an incredible story, which I'm looking forward to. But it's like I kind of wonder, like, what?
I wonder if it's going to be an open world game.
I hope so. I mean,
I mean,
it should be.
Insomniac has made 3 games that are 2.5 games that are open world, but I don't know if Wolverine's will necessarily be open world. Hopefully it is, but I don't know how you really can with Wolverine's story. Like Spider-Man, he's in New York.
Yeah.
Batman's in Gotham. I mean,
Yeah.
you're kind of just like taking that, but Wolverine, I mean, he's everywhere. He's in Canada, he's in America, he's in Europe, he's wherever the X-Men send him. But if it's just, him, then what do we do?
Yeah, and I'm not poo-pooing it by any means. It's just one of those things where I kind of wonder, like, I'm kind of losing some of my favorite stuff out of both those superhero games that have been incredible with Wolverine. So
What if you get a mode of transportation where he like becomes like Nightcrawler and he's able to like run up walls and stuff like that?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll you can use the claws and stuff and whatever. I don't know. And I'm not trying to poo-poo. I just thought of it as I was playing Spider-Man, where I'm like, some of my favorite stuff of Batman and Spider-Man would not be there for Wolverine. So we'll see. It was last time I loaded it and the Insomniac thing came up. It just sparked with Wolverine.
You're like,
oh yeah. Then I started thinking about it, and I'm tempering expectations. Sorry, what do you got for?
So real fast, Carol says she's reading Inspection, watching House of the Fall of the House of Usher, and YouTube reactions, and then she's playing Candy Crush. And then my wife's in the chat. Hi, wife. And she's been watching Loki, first 2 Harry Potters. Month of October, she watched 13 or 14 horror films. She doesn't remember which. And then she's been playing Hogwarts Legacy and not reading anything at the moment. A lot of those are similar for me because I have the last week off of work, doing a job change, changing where I work. So I rewatched Scarface though.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I took a
Fly Pelican.
Look at a pelican.
That's cool. I've actually been thinking about that movie in the last little bit. I bought it in 4K.
Yeah.
Probably in the last 6 months, and I just haven't had a chance to actually throw it in and watch it yet. So it's kind of interesting you watched it.
Yeah, I went through. My last day of my previous job was a week ago, and a couple days was Thursday last week. So I went through Netflix, Hulu, Max, and I'm just like, okay, what am I going to watch and everything like that. I ended up watching Scarface, and that's it because I got so into a new video game.
Oh, okay.
So we did watch Loki. We got caught up on that. We forgot. Dude, we forgot. We were 3 episodes behind.
Oh, yeah.
So with this week's episode, we were 3 episodes behind. So between realizing it on Wednesday night and today, we watched episode 5 last night. So we got caught up on that. And then, like my wife said, we watched the first 2 Harry Potters. Excuse me. I finished listening to the Harry Potter series. I finished book 7 on Sunday or Monday this week. And then I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy. So a lot of Harry Potter going on in the house right now.
I do also have to point out, I completely forgot, I also went and saw Dawn of the Dead last week.
Oh, yeah, it was in theaters. I saw your post.
I was going to go see The Killer of the Flower Moon, and I went to buy tickets. And popped up on my thing, the first thing it showed was
soon.
Dawn of the Dead. I'm like,
wait,
what? And I went and clicked. I'm like, I'm sure that's the right poster, but I'm like, we talking the classic? And so
not the 2004 remake.
So I'm like, sorry, Scorsese, but
I gotta
Killer of the Flower, because I didn't know. I mean, there's some of these like anniversary, because it's a 50-year anniversary.
1973.
No, 25.
No, longer than that.
No, or not, or 30 or. 45 because 73 is 50, and that's it's 5 years later than Exorcist. So it was the 45-year anniversary. But those anniversary screenings, especially the theater I go to, they'll be there today, gone tomorrow type thing. So I was like, I want to go see Killer of the Flower Moon, but I'm not going to miss out a possibility of a movie. I know every frame of it, certainly,
but
it's
never
like
seen it
I've never seen it on the big screen. So I'm like, to hell with Scorsese. He can wait till next weekend, which I did go, but I did go watch that.
You just reminded me. My wife and I did actually go see, not yesterday, but a week ago. We went and saw the 30th anniversary of Nightmare Before Christmas in theaters.
Oh,
so which is awesome because you bought us tickets to the symphony with Nightmare Before Christmas last December for like Christmas gift and everything, which was amazing, by the way. Thank you. So we got to see that, and then my wife got to see. She's a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. She got to see it on the big screen for the first time. She didn't ever saw it on the big screen. It came out when she was 3, so
Yeah, that's awesome.
it was really cool to go see that with the 3 of us. Went.
I think that was still
so
when I was looking for my ticket. When I saw Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah.
I was like, "What else is going?" And I think it's still there
Yeah.
too. So I'm like, "That's cool. Maybe I'll think about that one."
yeah,
too.
it was a lot of fun. It's a short film. I always forget how short that movie. It's like 100. It's like a 96 minutes. No, like 76 minutes.
Yeah,
It's like an hour and 16 minutes or something like that. It's really short.
yeah.
But yeah, my wife says bucket list item checked off. So being able to see that.
That's awesome.
But I want you to save the Dawn of the Dead talk because the topic
Well, I
today.
just wanted to mention that
It is,
it would be
yeah.
really dumb of me to forget that I also did just rewatch Dawn of the Dead as we're going to a zombie
especially since
episode.
we're talking about zombies today. So
That'd be very foolish.
in
of
a
me.
little bit, not yet.
Be very foolish of me. So let's go into the news real quick. First of all, I guess I forgot the slide for watching, reading, playing.
That's all right.
Yeah, but first of all, news: Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 2 has been bumped from March of 2024 to May 23rd, 2025.
Actor strike, right?
Strike is still going on, so that is going to delay a lot of stuff, and that is the next thing, which is annoying because this movie, I think they filmed the two together, and I think they were filmed pre-COVID, or I think they were in production when COVID all happened.
Yeah, and
So
it got
it's like-
delayed
so
until this
so
year is
some
when
of this-
the first one came out.
Yeah, so a lot of the filming
one,
of
I should
a
say.
lot of what we're watching in these movies, part 1 and then into part 2, some of that was filmed in 2019.
Jeez.
So it's like, can you imagine working on that and then like it's now 2025 before it's gonna fucking see the light of day?
There's some
Jesus
guy. I
Christ.
guarantee there's some guy where they're like, we'll give you a 5% raise if you agree to take payment once both movies hit theaters.
God.
And that guy's like, dude, done. These will come out in like a year and a half. And then everything happened with the world. And he's just sitting there going, I put in 8 months of work on this movie and I'm not paid yet.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have more of those, unfortunately, but that is the next one up.
Yep.
Next up, this is an interesting bit of news. DK published a book called Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an official timeline. There's a few nuggets in there that people have been posting about online, and I've seen some news articles about as well. Some interesting MCU tidbits coming out of this.
Okay.
I need to buy this book.
Okay.
So first of all, Marvel does fix and or address the Spider-Man Homecoming error that has been talked about for ages now.
What is it, 3-6 years or whatever it is?
It's like 4 years after Avengers, but it says 8 years. Or Vulture says it.
Yeah, something
says
like
it was
that.
8 years ago or something. So in the book, Miss Minutes is there
Oh.
in the book, and she'll just pop up and whatever. And in this section, it says, Toomey or whatever says 8 years ago, and then Miss Minutes pops up and says, "Hi again. Adrian Toombs says the Battle of New York was 8 years ago, but that event was only 4 years prior. That's a real head scratcher for us. I reckon an analysis misplaced the case file." So they're playing that the TVA is keeping track of all
is
this.
the fault for it.
But that's been one that people have kind of
Always,
talked about
yeah.
for ages because it's just the math just didn't add up, right? So
Yep.
because generally Marvel movies are real time until the Infinity War. The snap ended up the 5 years later
Yep.
in Endgame technically, which actually did you
We
see
just had the anniversary
all the
of Tony's
anniversaries have
death,
been
yeah.
happening. It's not just it's been like the week and a
Yeah.
half worth of this is the
Natasha
anniversary of
Natasha died,
Yeah.
and then here's where I found out. Did you catch the date for when they say the battle of for all existence? I think is what they called it. Happened. It's where Captain America picks up the hammers. The final battle where Tony snaps and sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
Did you catch that they gave a date to it?
No.
October 17th, 2023. That's my daughter's birthday.
Oh yeah.
October 17th is my daughter's birthday.
Yeah, no, is that probably his headstone maybe or no, you don't put date.
It was something that Marvel really says, hey, this is the day that Tony snapped and saved all of existence. Like Marvel put it out there.
It was probably
may
in this
have,
book.
Maybe it was in this book that they put it
Yeah.
out there.
So the other tidbit that I wanted to point out, there is an icon that they put in this book. An icon that specifically calls out a major character's death. So that is an interesting thing to have. So, for instance, Tony Stark, as you just mentioned, that icon would be there for that battle. It would show you that a major character died. Any debate it has been squashed because on Multiverse of Madness, it does indeed show that icon. So Wanda did indeed die.
She's dead.
There has been some
Yeah,
arguments and debates whether, did she actually die? There looked like there was maybe some stuff happening there as the whole thing was collapsing. But no, the icon is there. So, again, we're in the multiverse now, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Well, we could pull Wanda from another universe.
Yeah. So, but as it stands in the MCU now, Wanda is dead.
Oh, wow.
That is coming out of this book as well.
That sucks for my wife. That was like her favorite character.
I mean, she's a wonderful character.
Yeah.
Wanda's awesome. Especially when she's, going
No.
after everyone.
No, when
Yeah.
she's evil.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it, sir.
Yeah,
A
okay.
mother will do what a mother will do.
Oh.
Next up, Black Phone 2 is happening.
Yeah.
They have signed a sequel to that. It'll be coming to theaters June 27th, 2025.
Again,
So,
in June. That's when the first one came out.
yeah, which is
Summer,
that used to be kind of weird, but they've actually been doing that a lot recently, where if they've got a horror movie that they think is like got some legs and can box with some of the big league things, they'll put out horror movies. I mean, one of the Conjuring movies came out.
A couple of them did.
So,
I have a theory about that, and maybe you can support it or correct me, but I think it may be a little bit that people don't want to go see some of these superhero movies. I know there is some superhero fatigue out there, so you put out a nice horror film or you put out a nice romantic comedy or something like that. People are going to look at that and go, "Man, nice change of pace from all these 8 superhero movies coming out over
Fast
the
and
next
Furious
2
or Jurassic Park or whatever else, right?
The action movies, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Fast and the Furious is basically a superhero movie.
Yeah, I mean,
You mean to tell me they're not superhuman doing some of the stuff that they do?
that's why I keep telling people that really like shit on those movies. I'm not a fan of them. I haven't seen any since the first one.
Yeah.
But I always point out to people, it's like, tell me what movies you watch, because you keep talking about how unrealistic they are and how dumb they are. Tell me what movies you watch, because I
I'm
guarantee
sorry, I watched a movie about an alien race coming down through a wormhole invading New York.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, that's realistic.
it's kind of one of those like love what you love. It's like it's not my thing, but there's people that love it and like good on them, man. It's their thing. Like, and how many movies did your dad have that were just shitty movies about dudes racing cars in some way?
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever Bullet or something. That's a good movie, but like there's all these like just like the classic like
Yeah.
it's like it's a dad movie, and I feel like Fast and Furious are that. Like, who cares? They're not about logic or reason. It's a freaking dad action movie.
It's a 2-hour action movie. Go watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Momoa in the latest one. Like, I'm the same way as you. I haven't seen anything since the first one.
Yeah.
But seeing the trailers, we saw enough of them in theaters with all the trailers for Fast X. What
That was 10.
Fast 20. I don't know what we're on now. But he looked like he was just having a fucking fun time.
Yeah.
And did you hear? Okay, I did hear one thing about that. Did you see like he was wearing like purple? His mom hates that color, so he purposely wears it just to piss her off. And the people making the film were like, "You're not wearing that." He's like, "Oh yes, I am." And he wore it.
You should
So
have just said, "Fight me."
yeah, no kidding.
What are you gonna do?
Fight Aquaman.
Yeah. All right. So next up, Daredevil Born gets a showrunner. It is Dario Scartapane. So that is the name of the showrunner. He previously did The Punisher as well as Jack Ryan. So he'll be the showrunner as well as he'll be writing new episodes and writing new material for episodes that already have been shot. So
Excellent.
yes. So already one that's worked on some Marvel stuff with Punisher. So that one seems like that's moving along.
Also, I hear Jack Ryan's really good. You watched that, didn't you?
Yeah, I enjoyed Jack Ryan.
Yeah, you keep telling me I need to watch it because Krasinski's really good.
Yeah, Jim from The Office.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's Jim from The Office.
He's
He'll always be Jim from The Office.
Always,
man.
yes.
Like there's just, and that's why some like sitcom people just get their they don't have a career after, because it's like, how do you get out from under that? Like, you're always going to be seen as that. So, all right, next up, a sequel to It Follows is coming. It'll be called They Follow, and it is going to be bringing back the director and the star of the original film. Okay. So that was a movie from, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and like that movie fucking rocks, man.
I still haven't watched it.
Oh, really? Dude, you need to get on that. That's a great
2014.
That's a great fucking movie, man.
Yeah.
So that's coming up on 10 years. So, yeah, it's a great movie. You should watch it. I'm surprised I haven't maybe I haven't talked enough about it to you, but it's a great fucking horror movie, dude. I watched it probably in the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, and I watched it with Hayden too. After I watched it once and I watched it again with Hayden. He lost it. It was great.
Okay, if Hayden lost it and you specifically went out of your way to show him, then
So
I need to watch
I'll give
it.
you the premise.
I know the premise.
Okay, you know the premise
I know
because
the
I
premise.
didn't. I'd heard there's a couple movies I've over the last like probably in the aughts or in the teens that like I heard had good reputations. I just missed them, and that was one of them. There's a few. I even own a couple of them that I haven't because I'm like I'll buy them because I heard they're good. I haven't watched them yet, but I and that was one of them. So I finally one day I was like, you know what? Pulled it off the shelf, threw it in, watched
And
it.
you were
I was
blown
like,
away?
holy fuck, dude, this movie's amazing.
So the premise. Let me make sure I got the premise right, because I don't want to be that podcasters that are like, no, we'll talk about it. No, we won't. And then the people are like, well, what about us? It's like something is following a person, and it's going to kill them unless they have sex with someone else and pass it on, right?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So it's like guy girl they have sex and he just lays it out for her afterwards.
Like
And
the next person you have sex with is going to die.
Yeah, unless they
Have sex with someone else.
Yeah, and it's just done so spookily. Like you'll just see these people walking because it's a person, and it'll change forms and stuff. But
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty great. It's really fun.
Okay. Before we move on, I have to tell you about my wife's horror fest. I forgot to tell you about this. And what a better way to do it than here on the podcast? I put Sinister on her list. Now, I didn't enjoy Sinister. I didn't think it was very
I
good.
still can't believe that.
And you say that, and so I used my wife as the guinea pig, and I told her that up front. I'm like, Tad rants and raves about this movie, so this movie's solely on the list because of him. I didn't enjoy this. She watched it, and she's like, you have to rewatch that movie.
That's what I'm like, dude. How
So I'm like, all right.
You-
So I just want you to know,
okay.
my wife supports your decision that I need to rewatch this, and now she's on board with me rewatching it. So
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
I will be
Like,
rewatching that.
You could have
here.
knocked me over the feather when you told me you didn't like it. I
Yeah.
was like, are you kidding me? Are you sure you're thinking of the right movie?
I
it's just-
didn't care for it. So I don't. The thing is, though, we talked about this literally with on our last podcast. I literally cannot remember one thing from it, though.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
let's rewatch it. Let's reevaluate. I will keep you updated when
All
that
right.
happens and bring you a Peter update.
All right, sounds good. Speaking of Peter updates,
Updates.
Next up, the Penguin is no longer coming out in 2024.
I'm not liking that you called that a Peter update.
I know you love the Penguin, right, Mr. Cobblepot?
That's not Colin Farrell. No one will ever convince me that was Colin Farrell in that makeup.
Yeah, it's true. There is no dates, but most likely it'll be 2025. It has been delayed due to the strikes. so-
Understandable. I mean,
not
at
a-
this point, it's just like,
yeah,
I accept my fate.
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Next up, Poltergeist is being made into a series by Amazon.
Interesting.
I love the spirit of that, and I do hope that some of the imagery that we had in the original movie end up in the series.
I see what you wrote there about the gangly clown.
I mean, is there a better explanation for him than gangly clown?
No.
It's like this, stuffed clown, but its arms are like 3 feet long
Yeah.
and legs are 3 feet long. It's a great
Yeah.
movie. So
Did
yeah,
you ever buy one of those?
no, I've found some people online, but they're rather expensive.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because they're like handcrafted, handmade.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
it's not like a mass-produced thing.
I
Unfortunately,
got to check and make sure there's not anything hidden because he hides stuff from me. That's an evil laugh.
Indeed. All right. So next up, we have a rumor. A rumor is that there is a Scarecrow movie set in the Batman universe that is apparently in early development.
Which Batman? The Batman?
The Batman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure I said the Batman. Yeah. So in the Matt Reeves the Batman universe.
Okay.
It's in early development. Who knows what'll happen? But that's an interesting.
Interesting.
I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
So
with
we got
that.
Penguin and Scarecrow so far, and Joker,
Yeah,
and Riddler.
and Riddler. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Catwoman.
She's not a villain.
No, she's a villain.
No, anti-hero.
No, she's a villain.
She is commonly an anti-hero now. Thank you.
Now, yeah, she's evolved to that in the last
Yes.
decade or so. But
And we're going
she's
off
a,
of the movie that
she's-
was made. She was an
she's
anti-hero
a-
in that movie.
She's a villain.
No.
All cats are villains, sir.
No.
Yes, and as there's one that loves villains and loves cats, I love cats because they are villains.
That's not true. Garfield is no villain.
Oh, yes, he is. He's a monster. Why do you think that John Arbuckle has such a terrible life? It's because he's got that cat. All right, so next up,
I'm
this
impressed you remembered that name.
I watched Garfield and Friends
Man.
back. That was 25 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
I used to watch that. I mean, probably 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yes, it's been a long time. But it took me a second. I had to, in my head as I was talking there, I was like trying to pull the name. All right, this next one, I will admit, I probably should have covered previously.
Okay.
But I dropped it. And it's one that you probably are interested in. Masters of the Air has been announced. It is coming January 26th, 2024.
Oh, shit.
So it is a few months away from the debut of Masters of the Air. The
Apple TV Plus, right?
yeah. So the stars of this, this is going to be interesting because for the Band of Brothers thing, we're going to be talking about that in the future. But this is the first time in these two. I don't know that either of these guys were like big stars when this was like being developed and shot and stuff, but they've since become big stars. Because we got Barry Keoghan, speaking of the Batman, and then Austin Butler are the.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other people I went through and scrolled through. Nobody else jumped out at me massively, so I do think it's largely unknown / younger actors.
Yeah.
But I think these two are younger, lesser known actors when they were cast for this, but they've since both gone on to win Oscars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's or Austin was at least nominated. I think Barry's won one. So that's pretty crazy. That'll be a little bit different than most of the Band of Brothers stuff. And the Band of Brothers Pacific both went for more unknowns with maybe some bigger characters in smaller roles like officers. The other thing I forgot about among the directors is Cary Fukunaga, which did
really?
True
He did,
Detective season 1.
Yeah.
And he did a movie or show not too long ago as well.
He was going to do It and then dropped out.
Yeah,
right?
he dropped out of It.
Right.
And he was still out of credit on the newest It movies, though.
Yeah.
Because I think they still use some of his... he did the new Bond movie. He did the last Bond movie.
Austin won Best Actor in 2023 for his performance of Elvis.
Oh, I didn't think he won for that. All right. So Cary Fukunaga is directing...
Oh, no. Nominee.
Yeah,
Apologies.
Yeah, just nominee. I don't think
Nominee.
he won.
It didn't
Yeah.
say. It didn't say. I thought I was on winner, but no, he was nominated. I
That's
apologize.
what I thought. And so also Timothy Van Patten is also directing an episode. He's one that jumped out to me, Cary Fukunaga, because of True Detective. But he's done a couple episodes of Game of Thrones, The Pacific, The Sopranos, The Wire. He's kind of an HBO heavy hitter director.
Yeah.
He hasn't done a lot of his own stuff, but he's done a lot of shit for HBO over there. He's also done some other stuff like Rome and some other things. He's been in directing for HBO for decades, so he'll be doing an episode as well. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's your release date, sir.
Excellent.
It's coming in a matter of months.
We were literally talking about that not 2 or 3 weeks ago at work about how we had nothing about it.
Yeah.
Did you know about this, or would that come after?
When somebody said something about maybe there was a trailer out
Yeah.
when we were talking,
Yeah.
the news was out then.
You son of a bitch.
So yeah,
And you saved it for now? I could have seen a trailer?
I don't know if there's a trailer. I haven't looked to see if there's a trailer or not. So if there is a trailer, I'm equally as in the dark. Then the last bit of news: Twilight of the Dead has got its director. They just signed the director for this movie.
This is a nice segue into our
main topic.
About zombies.
We've talked about Twilight of the Dead is the George Romero final zombie movie. It's one that he wrote the treatment for, and then his widow got some screenwriters to actually take that treatment and create a screenplay out of it, and they've been getting it developed. Now they have signed Brad Anderson to direct it. He did Session 9 and The Machinist.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So
That's
it is
really cool.
it is chugging right along.
Let's get it.
But yeah, that leads us straight into our segue into main topic, huh?
Do we have a sound?
No, I didn't. I
didn't grab a sound?
I forgot the sound. I forgot to play the one from the last episode too, which I actually made one for.
Oh, you did?
But for zombies, I'm like, it's usually musical things, but
There's one for you.
yeah, usually I do like musical
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm like, I don't think there's anything musical
Yeah.
for zombies that really steps out.
Yeah.
Jumps out. I don't know.
They're coming to get you.
I could have done something like that.
Should have done that.
for sure.
Should have done
yes.
that. So yeah, we're going to be talking about zombies. This was actually a suggestion from one of our fans who emailed me. My first email on our Geekery Abides
Did you
email.
feel happy to get an email?
I felt special. Carol suggested that we talk about zombies and everything zombies. We've talked about things before. How I came to be a Batman fan. How you became to be a Superman fan. Zombies is an all-encompassing genre in and of itself within horror that has branched out beyond that into the zeitgeist of pop culture, where Minecraft has zombies, and everything has zombies, and
Yeah.
and there's even zombie romantic comedy movies now where a zombie falls in love and everything.
And
so,
comedies in general, yeah.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
yeah, Zombieland is a comedy,
Yeah.
Zombieland 2.
Zombie on TV. Zombies are on TV. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to start off first with a quote from our Lord and Savior of the Zombie, George A. Romero. As movie monsters go, zombies are the most human. They were human at one time, so we are confronted with ourselves in a way, which is much more frightening and disturbing. Which I thought was a good way to kick us off with, how did you come to zombies?
I mean, it's kind of hard for most horror for me because I've been watching them so long that like some are not defined. Like I couldn't tell you the first time I saw Halloween, for instance, which is one of my all-time favorite things. Same with zombies. I mean, outside of my first horror movie being Chucky, I don't really remember like firsts, but I do remember from a pretty young age. I mean, going to Hollywood Video, renting shit, and like zombies would have been a big thing. Certainly. I mean, there's Return of the Living Dead. There's every Romero movie. There's the I mean, there's all kinds. Zombie 2 is one I always remembered because it was always the very end of the thing because it was alphabetical, which is it's got a fun cover for it too with the decaying zombie on the cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know exactly how or when I came to zombies. It's kind of one of those things. It's always been there, I guess. But I've always loved them because they're just they're creepy as fuck. And I don't know. It's just as a kid, it's weird because as a kid, I don't think you really think of like the escapism aspect.
Yeah.
I think like people think of that now, adults and stuff. It's man, like like if zombies happen.
How would you survive?
Yeah.
And what's the best way to survive? And we've had discussions about this.
Oh yeah.
About how Tad would handle a zombie apocalypse and how Peter would handle it, and they are vastly different, folks. I would not survive in Tad's zombie apocalypse with him as the leader. I would not make it, unfortunately.
Oh, also, I didn't have a zombie shirt, so I figured Eddie the Head would be.
It's a perfect apropos one. I don't have a zombie shirt either, so.
I do need to get one, dude. Like that cover ghoul from Dawn of the Dead would be. I'm sure there's a killer shirt out there that. Has that on
absolutely! I bet there is.
So
yeah, for sure.
Need to get me a zombie shirt.
So interesting enough, how I came to zombies is pretty easy for me to put a finger on because I didn't have an introduction into horror films.
Yeah,
I did have a little bit of an introduction into video games. I had heard of Resident Evil, but I'd never played any of them.
Yeah.
Not having the video game system until I was like 15 or
Yeah.
so. So the big thing for me is that when I look back on it and everything, I think you introduced me to zombies first, and you didn't mean to. Like, we never really had a discussion about it, but we watched Dawn of the Dead in high school at your house. And I'm like, dude, that was really cool for my first zombie movie. And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I think, honestly, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I think that's kind of what launched into I had never seen horror movies.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you just assume everyone's like you.
Yeah.
So I just assume every kid's just been, desensitized to all fuck by the time we're, 15, 16 years old. But yeah, so yeah, it was just like alien to me. It's like kind of like as alien as it probably was for you, where you're like, wait, you've seen all these horror movies? I'm like, you haven't seen horror movies?
Wait, you haven't? Yeah, exactly. Carol says Tad always introduces the good stuff. It's honestly true, is that Tad is a large part of my identity because he helped introduce me to a lot of things. Now, a lot of things I did like before I met Ted. I did watch The Simpsons. I did watch Batman, Star Wars, all that stuff was from before Tad. But having someone who's a best friend like Tad is able to expand my geekery to where I don't feel ashamed of it. I used to not admit that I like Ninja Turtles to people. Now I wear a Ninja Turtle shirt almost every week because like Tad says, dude, don't be ashamed of what you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, we watched Dawn of the Dead, the original.
Which I couldn't have picked a better one. If I would have known you hadn't seen a zombie movie,
Exactly.
that's probably what I would have picked anyway.
So the funny thing is that I had never really watched a ton of zombie movies until then. And even after that, I didn't watch a lot. So I didn't get a degree in college, but I went to a semester and a half of community college trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a degree.
Yeah.
One of the classes I took was a film class.
Mm-hmm.
For Halloween, we watched Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead with running zombies.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fantastic, and I came to you. This is the year after we graduated when I watched this. And I came to you and I was like, man, remember Dawn of the Dead? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, it had a remake and it was really good. Dude, I swear to God, you almost punched me.
And I will say, I am in the minority. Most people love that movie.
Yeah.
I am not a fan.
So, so that being said, this is where we're going to have the discussion and actually our closing argument.
Oh, okay. I skipped that slide. I didn't know if we had a closing argument.
I am going to give you a closing argument. I am going to very, very carefully word this question because I want to make sure that we get this
How lawyerly
across.
of you.
Very lawyerly. I want to make sure that I get this across.
Mr. Hutz, are you aware you're not wearing pants?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't.
In zombie movies alone, I'll include television as well.
So Carol says 28 Days Later is a game changer for me, and I love 28 Days Later because I don't view those as zombies. I
Yes.
view that as infected people, and I get where people could say that's like maybe zombie adjacent, but they're not zombies. They're not undead people. So I have no.
That's a conversation we're going to be having after this closing argument.
Yeah, so I just wanted to address that to
Yeah.
what she's saying
Yep.
because like I don't want it to come off like me saying I don't like running zombies as like I'm going to throw out 28 Days Later or anything because
Right.
that's for me it's a different thing.
That's the question: is should zombies run?
Oh, is that your wording?
That's literally the closing argument. In movies and television, should zombies run? Because, okay, before you answer, I'll let you have a second. The reason why I say this is because video games are different.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a different beast there.
Yeah.
So, movies and television, you've explained this to me before, so I want
Yeah.
to see if you remember this argument. Explain to me why zombies should or should not run and why it's scarier.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I say absolutely not. And also, I know there's a quote out there of George Romero discussing this, saying that zombies shouldn't run because they're dead, their muscles are decaying. They're like just the mechanics of an undead creature is not going to behoove people. You know, it's not gonna evolve into them running. On top of that. It's kind of like, yeah, it's and I think you were alluding to, but ultimately it comes down to is running in general is not as scary in movies. It's not cinematically as scary. Yes, every once in a great while you have something like Ghostface that will run. But overall, Jason, Freddy kind of runs a little bit.
Freddy does like a little trot. Like
Yeah.
he never like full on sprints.
Yeah,
at
he's
someone.
he's not sprinting exactly, but like running, all the greatest horror things they don't. Even going way back, Frankenstein. You don't see
Slow.
Frankenstein running because there's
Dracula doesn't go pelting down the hallway at someone.
and I think because there's just an inherent element of. I mean, especially when you're talking about these conscious creatures, because like if something like Michael Myers is not going to run after you, that also conveys some sort of like he knows he's going to get you, so he doesn't have to exert himself to run. There's a horror to that, but you're not getting that with zombies. But I think for me, it's always just it comes down to like an anatomical thing, kind of like George Romero's pointed out. Like, how the hell would a half decayed person have the? I mean, there's most people in society that are living creatures that can't run or don't run. So why would we expect one that died, decomposed for a couple weeks, and then rose from the dead to run
Suddenly be a world-class sprinter.
Yeah, but ultimately I think it just comes down to it is scarier because there's just some element of because I think for me zombies are a force of nature. Like they're not like it isn't like like if you're thinking like, oh, Ted Bundy, like he's gonna run at his victim in that last bit to close the gap or whatever, but it's like okay, that's scary to an extent, but it's like just that unnatural walking horde is just fucking terrifying because it's like the waves, right? The waves aren't like they're not sprinting at you; they're just slowly coming up the beach, and it's just there's like so for me it's kind of a force of nature kind of thing, and I just think it is just scarier. Like I feel like if you got like a scene and had someone film a scene of a killer running or a zombie running at someone and then one of them moving at someone, especially if you use like the right music and stuff, I think you're always going to find it scarier running from something that's not running because it's just I don't know, because it feels like you should have like the head. You should have the upper hand because you're going to run and it won't. But ultimately, there's a fatalistic nature of zombies. Like nobody's going to survive. Everyone is eventually going to die because even if you absolutely were a master fucking zombie person, at some point you're going to die of old age. So eventually death is going to get you, and ultimately death is usually a slow stalker, right? Death stalks us.
Yeah.
Death doesn't sprint at us.
Yeah.
And I think that zombies are kind of a I don't know, like a talisman for death. And generally speaking, for most of us, death is something that slowly follows us. It doesn't run at us. So I think so. I guess that's what I'd say is like physically, and then storytelling wise, and then also just like the larger philosophical nature of zombies is it is way scarier just to have them lumbering slowly. You know, because that's when they're gonna want to pop out. You're looking at the one that's coming at you from behind, and it's the one that comes off the side.
The one that comes from the gutter that you didn't see,
Exactly.
the crawler one.
Yeah, every
that gets you in the ankle.
Yeah, so
right?
that's ultimately my argument. I don't know exactly which argument you're referring to, so I don't know if I hit it exactly as you were hoping.
You were very close, so I'm going to give it to you.
You're such a good lawyer that by tomorrow morning you're going to be working in Alaska.
Wait, is that the positive one?
Yeah.
I always forget which one's the positive one. You know.
Yeah, because he's saying such a good lawyer that the cop's going to end up working.
Oh, okay, the cop. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, that's right.
You
He's
just
talking to
watched it.
he's talking to the cop there. I always think that he's talking to the lawyer there. So the reason why I had this is because we do want to have a discussion about running zombies in film and TV. And like I said, I always got upset when people called the creatures in 28 Days Later and viruses and stuff like that zombies. They're not zombies. They're zombie-like.
Yeah.
They attack humans. They beat them up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
could
they-
even eat them because
They don't even eat them. Like in 28 Days Later, they
They
starve
could
to death.
though. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is they could.
Yeah.
But
They don't.
That's inconsequential.
Right.
The Last of Us. Those aren't really zombies.
Not really zombies,
you got-
but they have a consuming nature of them that makes
Yeah.
them more zombie-like to me than 28 Days Later. Because
Yeah.
the ending scene of 28 Days Later is what really ruins it for me, is that everything's starving to death. So that apocalypse is over in 3 weeks. 4 weeks. A month. 2 months. You
Yeah.
know? You just have to survive them starving to death because they're not eating. Because
Yeah.
they're so full of rage and everything like
Yeah.
that. Also, it goes back to, for me, we had this conversation 15, 20, 30 years ago, whatever, however, 15 to 20 years ago when we first became friends and started talking about zombies, is that running zombies are a jump scare.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is, and you touched on it a little bit. I wish you would have gotten a little bit more depth, and now you can. I'll still
Yeah.
give you the point because I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
Running zombies are a jump scare, which is great. It has its place in horror. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
If done properly.
If it's earned. That's
Yeah.
the thing you've always said is like, yes, you're going to get me with a good jump scare if you just make a loud noise and something jumps
The
out.
Haunting of Hill House.
But that's not an earned scare
yeah,
though.
No.
But when you creep me out, when you make me feel dread,
Yeah.
when you make me go, oh my God, this isn't going to stop, like The Exorcist or The Conjuring does.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead does that. Like, as the movie progresses,
Yeah.
you're starting to feel dread, more and more dread, like, hey, they got this mall, they got it locked up, great, let's start feeling positive.
Yeah.
Oh no, we have bikers. Oh no, the zombies got it. Oh no, he died. Oh no,
Yeah.
he died. And it's just like,
Yeah.
are they going to survive?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I love the wave analogy that you did, because there is a
They're a force of nature.
there is a force
There's-
of nature
it's-
quote out there, and I couldn't find it for the show, but I swear there's a quote out there from George Romero where he says, like, it's a force of nature and you're not going to be able to change it.
Yeah.
So
And I don't think it's necessary. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't think the quote's even about them being a force of nature. I think what he's ultimately talking about is the zombies aren't the villains.
he has a quote about that.
He always says that it's always the large, and like honestly what I always think of is the mist. Mm-hmm. The mist is not the monsters out in the mist.
Yeah.
It's the monsters inside that store.
That's right.
Like that's the way Romero's always looked at it. It's like, and in like Dawn of the Dead, it's the consumerism, right?
I have
like,
that quote.
They get so fucking
Yeah.
going into like the consumerism of living in a fucking mall that eventually they're just jaded and they're just like, okay, like, and it almost ruins them. Like the on point people they are early in the movie, they're not that later when they're all fucking like just lavishing themselves in the riches of the mall. Like now they become soft, and that's when shit starts to go wrong for them. So, but yeah, I think that's what because I think the force of nature element, he kind of talks about it in that quote. I think.
Yeah, and my wife says it in the chat. You should have an advantage and should be able to get away, which is true because Romero has this amazing quote here. Let me see if I. And
he is the Godfather.
He is the Godfather, and we do need to respect his what he said.
And I want to lay some, just hold the thought one second, because I want to lay the track of like the other thing that I find really fascinating about zombies is horror wise, they are the newest creation in horror. Period. In terms of larger sense, like seriously, zombies are on the same level of vampires, mummies, Frankenstein. It isn't that same thing where it's like it's beyond a singular movie or a small
they're a movie monster.
They're a movie monster, and like every other movie monster is like at least 100
centuries old,
at least 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So like, but Romero made in 1968. You know, and I know there's like the whole voodoo idea of zombies, but they're not zombies the way we view zombies now. George Romero created in 1968.
The Western culture zombies, where it's an
undead reanimated corpse that is consuming
trying
people.
to eat people.
So ultimately Romero is kind of like Mary Shelley. He created something that is so
iconic,
beyond the fucking pale of like whatever, that it becomes part of like the zeitgeist of horror. And I get there's a lot of other people that worked in zombies. I totally understand that. But you and I want to at least set the stage of why we're putting so much into Romero is because in my mind, he is the godfather of zombies, and he created them. And yes, other people have stood on his shoulders, but ultimately he is that foundation. He is
Without him, we don't have The Walking Dead. Without him, we don't have Resident Evil. Without him, we don't have Evil Dead.
No, and they all point to that too.
Yeah.
Like when you hear these creators of all these things, every one of them will talk about a Romero movie where it's like, holy shit, I saw this and it changed my life, and I wanted to create something like that, so I created the game Resident Evil or The Last of Us, or whatever. There's all these things. So he is ultimately he is an authority in my mind when it comes to zombies. So I want to at least set the stage for that, because we did kind of skip the idea of like the history of zombies and why Romero, because we've already talked a lot about Romero.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's
and the thing,
why.
And this is where the quote comes in, where I was setting the stage. You actually are perfect on time. My next thing was to talk about Romero.
Okay.
So you're right on schedule, Tad.
Okay.
This is
Stay
perfect.
on target.
Stay on target. His quote is, "My stories are about humans and how they react or fail to react or react stupidly. I'm pointing the finger at us, not at the zombies. I try to respect and sympathize with the zombies as much as possible."
Yeah.
So he loves his zombies so much that he doesn't want them to ever be gone. He wants them there, which is why you never see a Romero film fix the apocalypse.
It ends it. Yeah, they're always trying, but
they're always trying, but they never succeed.
No. Yeah.
Zombies are always going to be a thing with Romero, and that's one thing that was kind of hard for me to accept at first with zombies, is that
because you want to solve
the
it.
good guys need to win.
Yeah.
The good guys need to survive. Mankind needs to survive. Some of these movies end with like one or two people alive, and you're like, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Like, they are fucked. Like, mankind is dead.
It's kind of like it's like The Mist, but The Mist kind of pulls its punch, because essentially
at the very end,
at a certain point, whether they close the rip in space or whatever the fuck it is, at the very end, even though character-wise Darabont doesn't pull his punches, but the story pulls its punch at the end because it solves itself. Zombies don't do that. There's no spot where the military rolls in and wipes them all out and it's the end of zombies. Like that. No, that's not the way it works.
Yep. One last quote from Romero. I had to grab this one just because of how fun it is. "I'll never get sick of zombies. I just get sick of producers." The funny thing is that I want to talk a little bit about the history of zombies here in pop culture.
Okay.
Is that we had Romero's 1968 to 1985 is the era of George A. Romero, is literally what it's classified as on Wikipedia when you look up zombies.
Oh, okay. So up through Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Okay.
So you get Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. The first three Romero films there.
Is everything after, like, Return of the Living Dead and stuff after that, which would make sense, late 80s probably?
Return of the Living Dead is during that period.
Is in that era? Okay.
In that era. So you mentioned it. Zombie 2 is in that era.
So
Hell of the Living Dead is in there. And then there was one other one.
The funny thing with Zombie 2 is that was literally like a ripoff. So the idea was Dawn of the Dead, or I think it was Dawn of the Dead, was called Zombie in Italy. So this film company's like, okay, let's make Zombie 2, even though it had nothing to do. So basically, so imagine if somebody made a movie called Dawn of the Dead 2, and it had nothing to do with Romero. Like that's basically what it was.
Yep.
But it stands on its own for sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like Zombie 2 or Night of the Living Dead is literally they took like, oh well, let's just do what Romero did and then go a different direction with it, which I know you haven't seen. I still need to correct that too, because Return of the Living Dead's a great one.
Yes. I love this quote here that's on, and I had to pull it back up on Wikipedia. This is Ebert, the film critic,
Yeah.
talking about Night of the Living Dead. The kids in the audience were stunned. There was almost complete silence. The movie had stopped being delightfully scary about halfway through and had become unexpectedly terrifying. There was a little girl across the aisle from me, maybe 9 years old, who was sitting very still in her seat and crying.
I love the spirit of it.
And that's what early zombies had that effect on people.
Yeah.
Is that they, like you talked about in your closing argument, is, oh my God, we can't overcome this.
Yeah.
And everything.
Well, also, there was a shift in the late 60s because before that, and he mentioned it, I mean, there's a reason kids were going to see horror movies. I mean, I think that what I always point to people to is look at like the original Halloween. What is he talking about comic book wise? Tarantula Man. There's like all Neutron Man. Like because like
that was 50s horrors. You go saw Wolfman. No one died.
No, so like horror and sci-fi were all kind of like thought of in the same realm. They're all kiddie stuff. They're for children. Like
they would have been rated PG today.
If you go buy, if you went to a comic book shop, you're going to buy a Superman comic, some stupid horror comic, and some stupid sci-fi comic. That's what it was all seen as. It wasn't until like it was the 60s that filmmakers started to take horror and go, what if we just pulled it away from kids and made it more like intense and brutal? And
in 1968 with Night of the Living Dead, you saw a little girl zombie eating her dad.
Yeah.
Like
Romero,
nom, nom, nom,
there's
nom.
not enough people that have done children zombies.
No.
Too many filmmakers are gutless, but Romero's done it a few times because you need to perceive that.
Yeah.
That is part of it, but it's like
terrifying. It's part of the reality of it.
Yeah, it is, but like people get kind of uneasy about dead children.
Again,
and it's like,
you talked about it. They pull their punch.
Yeah, they pull the punch, and it's like you can't. Like if everyone's dead, that means that children are dead. That means that there is like that Civil War aspect of brother versus brother. You should see a husband and a wife where one gets infected and one does. Like that's the true drama of zombies, is like that it could affect anyone.
So it's interesting because in this it talks about how in 1985 we have a relatively Western decline of zombie films, where everything after Day of the Dead starts having a little bit more demonic possession. You got Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, stuff like that and everything. And then from 1985 to 1995, it talks about how the Far East Asian culture embraces zombies more than the Western culture does and everything. And then it has that goes on until...
Your wife says if Peter gets infected, he's getting double tapped.
You better believe I am. That's right. That's how you know my wife's a good one right there. Is that she would not let me survive as a zombie, and she wouldn't make that stupid mistake. Oh, maybe he can get better. No. Pop.
You know, I will give him credit in Dawn of the Dead though, because the one dude gets bit.
Yeah.
The thing is like we just assume they know. Because like as I was watching,
how would they know?
As I was watching that in theaters, I'm like, hey, what point do they say anything about getting bit and becoming one? Because early on when they're like doing the news broadcast stuff, they're like, oh, the dead are going to come back, and like and then like everyone's talking about it, but I'm like, I honestly don't know if I've seen that movie 100 times. I don't think it ever really dawned on me that they make the discovery of being bit turns you, I think, in that movie.
The guy gets bit on the leg and then he dies.
They're
trying to keep him alive and everything and treat him and everything.
Yeah.
And then he dies and the guy's in the room with him and he's just like, oh God, and then he
pulls the blank. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was funny. That was like a kind of a revelation because again, you almost take it for granted. It's like, oh, you all know, like the stake through the heart, the garlic, the silver bullet, and the shot to the head, and you get bit and you become like, it just feels so part that we all know that it's like you got to remember with some of these earlier movies that those things weren't established. He was still creating this stuff. So stuff that we take for granted, they didn't know then. So it's interesting.
It is. So then the next section, it has this global film revival. It's called 2001 to 2008. You see things such as the Resident Evil games, the House of the Dead,
Yeah.
become very popular.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have 28 Days Later, and I know we've already talked about our dispute with that being called a zombie movie.
and-
It was wildly popular, and it is considered a zombie movie by a lot of people.
And it's fucking incredible. It is a great,
great movie.
a great movie. I just talk about it from the perspective of, in my mind, when you talk about the nuts and bolts, let's go to the freaking drawing board and define what a zombie is. It doesn't fall into that, but I do understand why people would put it in the zombie genre.
Exactly.
Because where else are you going to put it? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't really fit anywhere.
Honestly, for me, it's a virus contagion movie, which is starting to become a genre in and of itself.
Yeah.
We have movies going all the way back to the 90s that have this.
Yeah.
Outbreak, Contagion,
Yeah.
all of these different ones now. And with COVID, we're probably going to see a few more, give it 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
when they start making movies about that.
Yeah.
It's what Hollywood does. They make
Yeah.
movies about real life. So
And all horror does that too, right?
Yeah.
You've seen twists on mummies and vampires. Like, it does happen.
Absolutely.
It does happen for sure. But
I mean, hell, Twilight with vampires and everything like that. It was a global phenomenon.
yeah. Yeah, so there's always
Yeah.
going to be so there is, and even The Last of Us. I said I love The Last of Us. I think it's one of the coolest things. But it's like, in my mind though, those aren't zombies. Those
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
are like whatever. What was it? Fungus infected
Yeah.
people that cordyceps have taken their fucking brain over. Like so. Yeah, I don't know.
And they make it perfectly clear, even in the I haven't played the game yet still, but
Yeah.
even in the series, they make it perfectly clear. Those people are still alive. The fungus is keeping them alive.
yeah.
So they are not dead and reanimated. Although, again, I think they're closer to zombies than 28 Days Later is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Indeed.
so the revitalization also has a new turn in zombie culture with the wildly popular and one of our favorite movies, Shaun of the Dead. The
yeah.
first zombie...
04?
04. Not the first, but one of the first real big zombie comedy movies, which launches into...
It launches Edgar Wright's career. For
Edgar
one.
Wright's career definitely does. But it also has Zombieland. Probably wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. What was the love interest one, or the girl was in love with a zombie that came out in the last 4 or 5 years?
Oh.
Because you referred to it like the whole romantic comedy
Yes.
thing. So yeah, zombie movies have gone everywhere at this point. Also, I want to give a shout out to Shaun of the Dead too, because Shaun of the Dead
There's a second one?
is so like reverent to the Romero stuff. I feel like if there's a movie that's like a spiritual successor to Romero stuff, it's Shaun of the Dead. Even though it's a comedy, it follows all the rules of Romero. I mean, they have Romero in there as a cameo as well. I think he's a radio broadcaster or something. But like there's other zombie stuff, and everyone doesn't have to kiss the ring of Romero. I think it's smart to at least respect Romero. You don't have to bow to him constantly.
Understand where you come from, though.
But the ones that do, like Shaun of the Dead, I give so much fucking credit.
Well,
and
it's the
love
same
to.
things with possession movies or slasher films. Know your roots. Like,
Yeah.
know what these fans like and what keeps them coming back for more.
Yeah.
Don't change the formula.
Yeah.
Like, it's already good.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to change it. Do your own spin,
Yeah.
but these three things have to adhere to follow the rules, kind of thing.
Imagine if zombie didn't turn people by biting them. What if somebody took that out and it just wasn't part of it, and you just had to die? Like, I mean, that's the whole horror is gone now, because you'd have to literally wait till you died and became a zombie. But it's like, it's certain things you just can't.
So wait, you're saying that if the aspect of it is that not necessarily the zombie bites you turn, but if you die, you become a zombie. That's not scary?
No, I'm just saying if that was the only way.
That was
like
the only way.
if someone created a book, a game, or a movie that the whole premise was the whole zombie thing, but we're going to take the biting part out of it. Like, how much drama is gone now? Like, when it's like,
would the zombie still be trying to eat you?
I mean, I don't know. I'm making a joke ultimately to say that, like, you can't take away some of the core elements.
The
right?
reason why I'm asking that is because Walking Dead did that. Is that anyone who dies, if you die from a heart attack, you come back as a zombie.
Yeah, that's Romero. That's
yeah.
originally what was happening. That was in Night of the Living Dead. That's what they were saying. Is like,
Yeah, that's why the guy in the cemetery is there.
yeah, the dead are raised. Like, we don't know why, but they're fucking coming back to life. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Not buried and dead, but newly dead from
yeah.
this minute, which has always fascinated me with zombies. Is where is that?
Some
line.
go nuts. There's some zombie stuff later on outside of the Romero realm.
Yeah.
Where you literally have skeletons coming out of the fucking ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that little bit there in the 2000s with some comedy, but also you get more Romero films. You get Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, which I don't remember Survival of the Dead. I remember Diary and I remember Land of the Dead very well. I don't remember Survival of the Dead very much.
Yeah.
And everything.
Also, I don't know if it throws it in there, but I think another huge thing in the early to mid aughts was Call of Duty put a zombie mode in their World War game. I think it was the first one that did, and I think that was huge because an entire generation. And I think like Walking Dead would not have had its success if it wasn't for that freaking Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
Because you got a whole generation of young people that played that game, came to understand what zombies were, and now those people were prime for 5 or so years later when the Walking Dead became a thing, and suddenly like it was the biggest fucking phenomenon in television. So huge credit to the people at Call of Duty for throwing that in there.
Yeah, and that's actually where it says the success of Shaun of the Dead led to more successful zombie comedies during the 2000s and 2010s, such as Zombieland. And then also one called Cockneys versus Zombies. I don't know what that is. Never heard of it.
Sounds great though.
Resident Evil started making films during the 2000s
and early
and everything.
2000s, that's true. Yeah.
And then in 2013, AMC launched The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Which is the highest audience rating in the United States of any show on broadcast or cable, with an average of 5.6 million viewers in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic. So we need to talk about Walking Dead because neither one of us finished the series.
Yeah.
It is done now, finally.
Is it? I thought they still had spin-offs and all
They
that.
have spin-offs, but
Yeah.
the main series is done.
Okay.
So the question is for us is that, why didn't it work for both of us? And I'm going to go first on this one because I did watch a little bit farther than you.
Yeah, you watched a ways.
I watched into 6.5 seasons. I don't even know how many seasons there are of The Walking Dead.
I think at least double that. I think it's at least 12, if not more.
Let me double check. I want to know real fast before I say 11 seasons. So I got about halfway, almost literally halfway.
Yeah.
A little over halfway of it. And the biggest thing for me with The Walking Dead, I love the premise of it. I love that it stayed true to the Romero-style horror where it's just, dude, it's never ending. They're always coming after me and everything like that.
Yeah.
No runners, no special infected, nothing like that. Very much so, though. The worst thing in the series, though, were other humans.
Yeah,
which is a callback to classic Romero zombies,
as
right?
it should be, yeah.
Is that zombies are bad.
Yeah.
Zombies are something you need to fear, but my God, if you see another human being, you better have like 3 different guns on him.
Yeah, that's worse.
That's way worse.
The Last of Us did that brilliantly too.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Every good one always does that. I mean, unless there's some that are a little bit more, especially in the more comedic realm, like Return of the Living Dead and stuff, where it is mostly just zombies. But I think that's like leaning into like the Freddy and Jason era of horror movies.
Well, like Shaun of the Dead doesn't have anything with that with humans.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a comedy.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is that the zombies are kind of like
yeah,
comic, thing. So I'm with you on that one. But the big thing with The Walking Dead that I just got so sick and tired of the mid-season breaks.
Yeah.
Where it's like cliffhanger after cliffhanger, and it's just like, it's the struggle I had with Dexter, is that if everything's a crisis, nothing's a crisis.
Yeah.
And that's what it's kind of started to feel like with The Walking Dead after 6.5 seasons. Man, I got burnt out going, oh my God, who's going to die? Oh my God, what's going to happen next? Like, I understand it's a zombie apocalypse. Like, it's supposed to be that. But it felt a little too long for me.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like there was an original story there, and then it got too popular, so they couldn't stop. And so they're like, fuck, what are we going to write now? And so they started pulling stuff from... I've seen clips of later Walking Dead. There's guys walking around in fucking stormtrooper armor. Like, wait, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. The zombies can't bite you through that hard plastic, so
yeah,
But
I
still,
mean, can they? Maybe.
I expect the squeaky, like when they get thrown, like Chewy, and they squeak when they hit each other, and it took me out of it. Like, I watched this clip and I'm just like, what? But I know there's some really good stories later on. A lot of people talk that there's some later characters introduced in 7, 8, and 9, 10, and 11, and everything. And then, yes, there are spin-offs. And one of the spin-offs is being widely regarded as what Walking Dead should have done. Yeah. Where I think it's the Fear of the Walking Dead. It's where it's on the West Coast instead of the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So, for me, that's where I stopped after 6.5 seasons. I don't know if I'll ever go back. maybe one day I'll fill the draw and I'll go back and watch it. Now that I don't have to wait week to week,
Yeah.
I can
You
go
can
back
just
and binge it and just watch it and just be like, okay,
Yeah.
that was worth it. But week to week just burned me out, and I kind of have like a. You were so good for so long, but I can't. The problem also got with me and my wife is my daughter started getting up at the age where she was old enough to understand and be scared. So we had to go to bed early so we can watch The Walking Dead, and we kind of felt bad. So we're like,
Let's have her watch it.
now she's 11, she can absolutely watch it with me. So yeah, absolutely. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the
didn't
daddy-daughter bonding.
Didn't
is
you say
watching
she
The
wanted to
Walking
watch the
Dead. She wants to watch Five Nights at
Five
Freddy's.
Nights at Freddy? That's the
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
so-
I need to go see that still.
It's on Peacock. You don't even have to go out and see it.
Carol said, but sometimes if something's keeping you alive by animating you, isn't that a zombie? And that's I could see that as an argument for sure.
For cordyceps, for
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and again, some of it can get.
The problem is with that one, Carol, is that they have to get you while you're alive. If I shoot Tad in the chest and he dies, cordyceps can't come along later and reanimate him, which is what the zombie virus does, which is commonly zombie virus.
Yeah.
Commonly does is it reanimates corpses.
And Chell says, "Walking Dead is filmed a few miles from my house in Fayetteville, Georgia. Before it had to move to the studio because people kept showing up." Yeah,
that first couple seasons were just filmed out on the road and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I couldn't imagine how easy it would have been to film zombie stuff during the pandemic when all the streets were all closed off and nobody was out anywhere and it was just empty streets everywhere.
She said she was behind Melissa McBride in the grocery store at 10 p.m. one night. I was fanning, geeking out, but didn't bother her.
That's awesome. But yeah, for me, I watched the first 3 seasons, I think, which is one season past when they got rid of Frank Darabont. And it just, I don't know, like there was just part of me that was like, even then I was like, I feel like this is just going to turn into a soap opera a bit. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. There's soap opera stuff, whether it's real soap operas or people that watch professional wrestling, which is just soap operas for men.
For men, absolutely.
So there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that to be derisive. I'm just saying that I felt like, honestly, it just came to a point where as I was watching, I was like, for me, it was one that analyzes stuff a little bit more storytelling wise. Is I was like, are zombies really a long form story device
or a 2-hour movie
or a couple hour movie, whatever. And I think so then I don't even know if there was anything that necessarily, because the third season I don't remember it even being bad necessarily. It was just like, I don't know if this is for me anymore.
Yeah,
and
that's what I remember most is that you're just like, I know they got rid of Frank and you're a huge fan of Frank Darabont.
Yeah,
and you were a little bit upset about that, but you were still going to give it a chance. So you watch season 3 and you're just like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I remember the next 3 seasons, I'm like, dude, man, it's so good. Dude, man, it's so good. You're missing out. They had a talk show where they would have actors come on, or producers or writers come on, and they would have Talking The Walking Dead or whatever it was called immediately after the episode aired on AMC, where they would talk about it and you could win prizes and shit like that. It was a global phenomenon. And everything. It was huge.
It still is. I mean, that's
and
why
everything.
they're doing spin-offs, right?
Yeah.
Like it hasn't lost steam in any way.
So with that, I want to pivot now into the one aspect of zombies that I feel is the unsung hero of the zombie culture, and that's video games.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think you called out Call of Duty, but I think zombies are one of the greatest video game villains of all time.
Yeah, I mean, the other one is the undead Red Dead.
Oh, dude, yeah,
dude. Still to this day, dude, if they did Red Dead 2 and gave me an undead nightmare for Red Dead 2,
yes,
like honestly, if you offered me that and said that you may delay GTA 6 or even delay Red Dead 3, I might take Undead Nightmare 2 for Red Dead 2, dude. Because you imagine that map, that scale, those graphics, but then just the whole thing is just fucking zombies.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So amazing. So my favorite zombie game, and we've talked about it because I always talk about playing it, is 7 Days to Die, which is a zombie survival crafting game. But every 7 days, there is a blood moon where groups of zombies spawn and know where you are, and they come for you. So you have to build your defenses and try to survive that blood moon, which goes from dusk until dawn. You have to survive the night of a zombie attack,
Yeah.
which is a lot of fun for me. I even read about one time where it's like, what you can do is you can do Walking Dead mode. And I'm like, what's that? I liked The Walking Dead for 6.5 seasons, so what is that? And it's like, just turn off the blood moon. And I'm like, what? And I went and looked, and you can turn off the blood moon completely, and you literally just have a zombie survival game. There's zombie, put it on permadeath, make it hard,
Yeah.
make it dangerous where if you go into the supermarket to look for food, you are potentially going to end your game, and you can, and they have that built into the game now where they have permadeath and you can turn off zombies, and when you die, you die. You can see how long you last and
Yeah.
everything. But there is no blood moon where there's a horde of zombies coming.
Imagine
for you.
an open world zombie game where there's no story, but it's just a survival game.
Yeah.
You just imagine like on the scale of Ghost Recon Wildlands or Red Dead 2, but it's just like you've just got to deal with it, and whether if it's a larger area where there's going to be more supplies, but there's also going to be more zombies.
Yep.
And you can go up into the hills and shit, but eventually like you've got to eat and
Yeah, you're going to be hungry and thirsty and all that kind of stuff. 7 Days actually does do that a little bit. There are only human characters are the traders, where you can go and sell stuff and buy stuff from them. It is in early access, so it is still being developed. They have talked for the last 2 updates about adding enemy humans, which I think is an interesting concept to have because that adds
video games haven't really gone into that.
No.
Every time you're doing zombies, it's always
zombies are the bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which loses out on that Romero aspect of it's the humans, right?
Yeah.
It's the human that shot the dude at the end of the Night of the Living Dead. It's
Yeah.
it's the humans that ruin the mall. Like it's always the humans.
Yeah, it's the humans that were the military bastards in Day of the Dead and everything like that, and doing horrible things and everything. But they're talking about doing that, and the game 7 Days to Die starts off with is you wake up from getting beaten and stripped of almost everything that you owned, and there's a little post-it note in your pocket that says, "We're not done with you yet. This is only partial payment for what you owe us." But then there's no human characters to coincide with that. So again, early access still being developed. I would love to see a story built into that. There was this really cool game that was coming out. It was on my wish list on Steam that I think it was like, oh man, what was it called? The Day After or something like that. But they got sued and they pulled their game from every platform because apparently that name is trademarked by a movie. So
That's weird that would
that one,
because those are different things, right?
yeah,
Like usually, like you could like just if you wanted to make a beer company, like somebody couldn't stop you and say my movie's got the same name as your beer company because they're two different things. But
I want to make
weird
I want to make a beer named Iron Maiden.
yeah.
That's a band. I can make a beer named that. But it was something with it, or maybe it was a game even that stopped it. But the whole premise of that, and I watched a couple trailers and a couple of gameplay where they had malls, they had cities, but you lived out in the woods because if you went there, there were more zombies. But the thing that they had that you just mentioned, they had roaming human NPCs that were hard as hell to kill, and they can drop you fast because they have guns too.
Yeah.
And so humans became like the special infected, in games. And so that's where one of my next conversation topics I want to talk to you about. How do you feel about special infected zombies?
I mean, what I think of in my head is like Resident Evil, where there was like larger creatures that were crafted by Umbrella. To me, those aren't zombies, and generally I don't like them.
Zombie dogs kind of thing.
Zombie dogs I'm okay with. I like the idea of zombie animals. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And zombie dogs, like that's terrifying because they're fast, they bite easily. Like that's almost how I would say like if you wanted to do like running or closer to running, do like dogs. But I guess I don't entirely know what you're talking about, but I guess that's what I would say.
So
is
you never played Left 4 Dead, right?
No, but like Nemesis in Resident Evil 3 is this big old freaking brute they made. Like
You played Last of Us. Let me put it in terms of Last of Us. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the deaf ones that react to sound.
Yeah.
That are really, really, really hard to kill.
Yeah.
That's a special infected. That's what I'm talking about. In Left 4 Dead, which is my wife's favorite zombie game, it's a co-op game. We should play it sometime. It'd be a lot of fun to play with you.
And with games, I'm
everything.
only talking movies.
Okay.
Like games, it's different. You have to change things up for games because it's a different reality, right?
Right.
Like I get that across the board. It's not even just in this,
which is
right?
why we don't have a problem with running zombies in video games.
No, and I get where you're coming from when it comes to video games, because
Okay.
it's like kind of like the difference between watch The Last of Us and then go play The Last of Us, and there's like a tenth of the zombies in the show than there was in the game, and it's like Craig Mazin. They asked him, and he's like, well, because in the game, like that's what you're doing, like your whole thing you're doing is fighting these things. He's like, he's like, when I'm doing a show, he's like, I can't have them fighting zombies as much as they did in the game, otherwise it's gonna get boring, because you can only watch him do this so many times. So
Yeah.
they chopped it down. So I totally get that games are different. For
Okay.
me, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm talking movies. I'm not a big fan of the idea of like
Okay.
special stuff. Now, the caveat I will say is smarter zombies is the Romero thing, where the zombies evolve.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if,
Like-
we're going to get into that, but
Like Land of the Dead, where the ones
all
like,
of them.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them. That I've always had the idea that it came to me much later, but I've always had the idea that they evolve across all the movies. Land of the Dead is the first time it was evident, but like
No, I mean you see it actually in every single Romero
of them,
movie.
yeah.
You go back and rewatch Night of the Living Dead. There's one that picks up a hammer and starts trying to like pull boards down.
yeah, and then there's in Dawn of the Dead, the whole idea of them going to the mall. Why are they going to the mall? Well, this is where they came when they were alive. This is
Yeah.
a place that was special to them. So you're saying there's some sort of like memory connection, like
And then in Land of the Dead, we get that even more.
Land of the
Well,
Dead-
Day of the Dead, we get Bub, who can remember how to shave.
they're teaching him,
the
and he
phone,
salutes the
he salutes.
soldiers. Yeah,
He learns how to use a gun.
yeah,
And he shoots the
And he
one.
shoots the horrible
colonel.
guy.
Yeah.
Um,
And everything.
and then so that's the next evolution. Then Land of the Dead's the full-on one where like the one like starts to learn how to use a gun.
But
Not-
also, let's take a second and acknowledge, where do you see him first in Land of the Dead? Do you remember?
no, it's been a minute.
You see him at his job. Zombies walk over the cha-ching at the gas station, and he walks out, picks up the fuel pump.
Yeah. So I think
It's the memory thing that you're
Yeah,
talking
so
about from Dawn of the Dead is replayed again in Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
But then it takes
And
it
it
one
goes-
step further.
each movie goes
he
further.
teaches them how to use weapons. He
Yeah.
picks up a gun and shoots. He learns that, oh, the water means I can get there, sees the reflection of the buildings, jumps into the water. They follow him,
yeah. So
and they walk out of the water into the safe zone.
yeah. So Romero's always had that idea that they have they're not slow, but there's an evolution of zombies.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. The idea of like a zombie that's in a movie setting that's doing or understanding more than it should if you've conveyed the idea that time has passed.
Okay.
But yeah, with video games, I totally get it. You got to create some sort of bosses or something to make it harder, because if it's just normal dead, like
It's gonna get boring.
it's gonna wear thin, especially unless you make it harder to shoot. Like like if you're playing a game where it's easy to play a game and look as good as John Wick, or do you make it where control wise and stuff you're gonna look like an average person trying to pick up a pistol and
Yeah.
use it for the first time. Like if you do that, then you could just go with normal ghouls.
Yeah.
But
Which is kind of what Last of Us does, is that it's not exactly like, you're not John Wick.
no, not at all.
No.
No.
The little bit that I played of Last of Us, like I played the first part, and then I decided to stop while I watched the series, so I didn't let it influence me.
Yeah.
I found that, man, it's hard to get a headshot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The whole point of that game is sneaky.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So, I did skip a question. I forgot. I totally missed it. Do you prefer zombies that eat brains or everything?
I mean, I like everything. I mean, I get that's the Return of the Living Dead that started the whole brains thing,
Yes.
which is crazy because like that came all along so much later, but then that's become like the defining thing for zombies for so many people. If they don't know zombies, like yo brains, like it's like wait, that's like something so much later. How did you pick that up?
Yeah.
So, I like everything.
And it's stuck, unfortunately, with zombies. is
dude,
that
yeah.
I had a conversation with a kid. I don't remember where this was or when it was. With this year, where they're like, "Oh, zombies are cool, but they only go after people with big brains." And I'm like, "No, they don't." And he's like, "What?" And I looked at his mom, and his mom was like gave me the, I know where you're gonna go with this, because she knew me. She gave me the nod, and she's like, "Yeah, it's fine." I'm like, zombies will eat everything. They'll eat your fingers. They'll eat your guts. They rip you open and tear you apart and eat your intestines, your heart, your liver, all your organs. And this kid was just like, he was a little bit older than my daughter, so it wasn't like I was traumatizing it like a young child. Unfortunately,
that's unfortunate,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Tad. I failed you in that one. But he was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you need to watch." And then I gave him like 4 or 5 zombie movies. And I'm like, of course, make sure that you have your parents' permission. And the mom was like, I really like Dawn of the Dead. And I'm like, see, there you go.
See, there's nothing better than that
Choke on it.
that chest
Yep.
rip, that classic Romero.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Tom Savini. We got to talk about Tom Savini.
oh, yeah. He's
Perfect segue into talking about Tom
a,
Savini,
he's a
right?
god. He is a god.
He has done so much for the world of zombies.
And horror in general.
And horror in
I mean,
general.
yeah, there's a lot of.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the horror in general, but, dude, what you're talking about, the chest being ripped open and the intestines being pulled out.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, that is so iconic for me for
Oh
zombies.
yeah, and he was the biker in Dawn of the Dead.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he's great, man. I love Tom Savini.
Does he get eaten by zombies? I always forget.
Yeah, he gets got for sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
I can't
now. It's
remember if
only
he
been-
just gets shot or if he gets ripped apart.
It's pretty chaotic at that tail end there.
Oh, I missed one section of the timeline for zombies. I apologize. So the big thing was the spillover to television was 2008 to 2015, talking about The Walking Dead and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Warm Bodies is the one I was referencing earlier, where Zombies in Love.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was called.
Yeah.
But then it talks about how the return to decline back in, it says that it's zombie movies have been going down since 2015 due to the popularity, and I'm interested to see what your take on this is. Due to the popularity in elevated horror films gradually taking their place, such as The Witch, Get Out, A Quiet Place, and Hereditary.
Yeah.
So it's saying that zombies were on the decline in the 90s, but then came back in the 2000s with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Let's
Yeah.
not pretend that it was just one or
Oh
the
no,
other.
there took a lot.
But there was a lot. But now they're going back on the decline, and the romantic zombie angle is the only one that remains vastly popular, with the films such as American Gods, iZombie. I mentioned that to you a while back.
Is that not a cartoon?
No.
Oh, okay.
It plays off the comic book. Like, it has like comic book, and then it changes to real life. So like take you, someone draws you as a comic book, and then they transition it to real life. That's how they start a scene.
I've always seen the
Yeah.
title, and I've just
My
assumed it
wife-
was like an iCarly type cartoon or something.
My wife loves iZombie, and that's where Raul is in it.
Oh, okay.
So that's what he's from, is iZombie. He's the comic sidekick kind of guy. Disney Channel has started doing movies, original movies called Zombies. They now have 3 of them. So it's interesting to see that it's kind of similar to vampires a little bit, where it's starting to become family friendly to have a vampire or a zombie in the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting to kind of see that parallel between the two what are those, the icons of horror,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and everything. So
Yeah, you definitely seen a decline in zombie movies
Yeah.
too. You don't see them as much now as you did 10 years ago. I can see that.
Yeah.
I do object to the idea of elevated horror though.
you don't think that elevated horror is the
No,
reason?
I just hate the idea that elevated horror exists. I think that's bullshit.
Okay, go. I know it's a little bit off topic, but I've never discussed this with you. This is the
Ba-
first time I've heard this term, so please go on.
Basically, elevated horror, in my mind, it's complete bullshit. It's basically people that hate horror that are ashamed to say they like horror.
Mm-hmm.
And so when something that comes along that's a little bit more prestige, that feels a little bit, above horror, like something like Hereditary or
Okay.
Witch or whatever. So they call it, prestige, or what did that, wait, did I say, what was the term?
It
I just
is
blanked on it.
the term is
elevated
horror.
Elevated horror. So it's just them trying to like something like Hereditary, but they don't want to admit that they like horror, so they create this whole fucking fiction about elevated horror where it's so much better than normal horror.
Okay.
And it's just like, but fuck you, man.
Like, just
because
admit that you like horror.
yeah, because it's
Okay, so it's the same thing
Yeah,
as if
it-
someone's like, well, I don't like sports, but cricket is a real thinking man's game. So since it's not really just a regular sport, I'm better than you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and Carol said I was going to say Hereditary as an example, but Tad beat me to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a whole you could Google elevated horror, and I just think it's just a pretentious bullshit from people.
Okay.
Again, people that want to be pretentious and just say that horror is shit and ignore things like all of the social commentary in every Romero movie. That and act like the movies that Jordan Peele and some of these people, Ari Aster, are doing have like this larger cultural significance, and it's like, no, they fucking don't. Like,
Which is funny when you go talk to those directors about where they get their inspiration from. It's Freddy, Jason, Michael, zombies. You know, the classic.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that those don't have like some cultural significance, but what it is to say is that it's like the idea that cultural significance can't be found in all the other horror. That's the thing that I object to, because all horror in my mind is great.
Yeah.
You know, it's all subjective, so you can love it or not love it. It's up to you. But the idea that elevated, I hate elevated horror. That term just grates on me, because I just feel like it's just pretension. It's just
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like I don't watch TV. You know, but I'll watch something on HBO because it's just, you know, and it's like
television. It's just a
still,
different brand of television, but it's still I don't watch normal TV channels. I watch cable.
Yeah. It's just
still TV.
And like I just feel like there's just an element of like putting down horror that's inherent in the idea of elevated horror that I just object to, because I love horror, and I think that horror can be just splatter for almost no, but it's like, I don't know, there's a lot to horror, and it's just, I don't know, it's like pretension for no reason.
Sure.
And it's almost like people apologizing for them liking something, that they have to create this whole new subgenre. It's like, well, I don't want to say I like horror, you know, so,
yeah,
you know, like, oh, horror's a guilty pleasure. No, instead, let's just fucking create a whole new thing called elevated horror.
And I'm better than you for liking it over your trash horror.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you still like horror films, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
no, I get it.
But
I understand where you're coming from.
But I mean, yeah, horror does go in cycles. So ultimately, zombies may be on the decline now, but guess what? In 10 years from now, zombies are going to be back, and you know, there's going to be some stuff that happened between now and then. You'll still see zombie stuff coming out. Twilight of the Dead's coming out, for God's sake.
Yep. Hopefully that follows the George Romero quote that I saw when I was looking up quotes for him, where it says, "Horror's such a funny thing." And this is paraphrasing. I don't have the exact quote for this one. Horror's such a funny thing is that when one has a success, all of a sudden everyone says, "Hey, let's make a horror movie."
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean,
and you can actually go back and look at years where there's been no good horror movies, and then all of a sudden one gets made.
Yeah.
The Conjuring.
And then one does buku money, and then
all of a sudden there's 7 other horror movies the next year.
The other thing is, I will say horror movies are at an all-time high in terms of actual production.
Yeah.
Because the sole reason that in this era where every studio is struggling to find movies that are like almost guaranteed moneymakers,
it's horror.
Horror is the only one that's, I mean, yes, you may make an argument that comic books might be that way, but for every Marvel movie, there's a DC movie that didn't make money. So it's like truly one of the only things where there's like 9 out of 10 times you've got money that's going to turn around, because also horror movies are cheap. So you make a movie that's cheap and it's going to make enough money to be profitable. So it's like right now there's more horror movies being made than a lot of and that's the reason why, because financially there's just it's almost a can't miss.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, imagine a roulette wheel that, 9 of the things where you win money and one of them's you lose. Like, are you not going to put fucking money on that?
I'll spin that wheel.
Yeah. Like, and that's what the studios are going to say too, because everyone keeps
and
going
it's not like you
horror.
have to, and it's not like you have to pick. You make those 10 movies, 9 out of 10 of them are going to make money.
Yeah.
The other 9 are going to compensate for the one that didn't.
Exactly.
That's how you play the game, is you make those 10 movies.
And you don't need Robert Downey Jr. in it.
No.
How many horror movies have you seen where it's actors you've never seen, or they're lesser actors? They're those that guy guys.
Name me one actor in Hereditary.
Well, Toni Collette is a goddess.
Okay.
So
name me a second one.
No,
you're a freak of nature. You don't count.
No, Toni Collette's a fucking.
I don't know who that is.
She's
is that the mom?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Oh yeah. She should have won an Oscar for that movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. But still, I couldn't name you a single other movie that she's been in.
Yeah, as I was saying, I mean, Knives Out. She was just in recently.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah.
Oh okay.
She was the mom of the Nazi kid, or no, that was the older guy. She's the hippie-ish lady, the one that has like the daughter that and she's
married to Bill Hader.
Was Bill Hader in Knives Out?
Wasn't he?
No, I don't think so. Okay.
Oh no, I'm mixing him up with the guy that was in
Yeah, Michael Shannon.
Yeah, Michael Shannon.
No, he was I don't know. I can't remember who. I'm trying to remember the exact relationships. But either way, ultimately there was the gambling thing of you could have picked any horror movie out of a hat and said who's in it. You just happen to pick the one that happens to have like
Yeah, fine.
Toni Collette's amazing.
And then, of course, the next one that comes to my mind is Midsummer, but Florence Pugh's in that, so fuck
She wasn't really known.
She wasn't back
with
then.
that,
That's the
so,
thing with horror
yeah.
movies is that they make people.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said earlier when I'm watching ER. Suddenly there's all these people that are getting
Yeah.
their break. First things they ever did is ER. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people their first fucking break was horror movies. Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. Like,
I will allow it. Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
She's so fucking funny, dude. I see so many things with her. Have you seen the reel, the video with her, where it's during the Halloween new 3 movies? At some point, she did a video where she's standing there and there's a tree behind her, and Michael pops out, and then he pops back right as she turns. Have you seen what
I
they?
think so.
Have you seen the spin that they've done on it at this time of the year?
Mm-mm.
She's looking, and it's Mariah Carey for Christmas music. And she turns around, and she looks all scared.
Dude, she's a fucking champ, dude. Like,
she's amazing.
Because like she owns it. Like,
Oh,
have
yeah.
you ever seen the one where the guy says something about? It was in the last 3 movies where the guy's like, "Oh yeah," and then Jason, is going after you, and she like fucking jumps on the guy.
It's like, Jason's a bitch or something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, do you even know who I am? You know what
Yeah.
movie we're talking about? Like, it's Michael. Like, it's one of those things that most actors
Oh,
could have
okay.
just let go, but she just fucking puts the guy to the fire. Where it's
Yeah,
like,
good.
it's like, do your fucking homework, kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love her.
So you alluded to this earlier, that there's still some zombie movies that I need to watch. I know we got a little bit off
Yeah.
zombie movies there for a bit. Let's get back on zombies. We got about
Tangents.
That's what we do. That's what Tad and Peter does. We got about 20 minutes or so, and I want to get off the top of your head. What's your favorite Romero movie?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Oh yeah, 78.
Not even
That's-
a discussion.
There's no zombie movie that even comes close outside of Romero. It is the greatest zombie movie in my opinion.
Okay.
Like-
What does it for you?
I just
Write me a letter of why I should watch Dawn of the Dead 1978 instead of 2004.
one. Zombies aren't in 2004. It's nonsense. No, it's just there's probably an element of nostalgia. I don't know why, but it was always the one that we loved as kids. When we'd rent the
talk
stuff.
about it. You just went and saw it in theaters. I told you to not talk about it. Now talk about it.
Yeah, it's just, so there is an element of nostalgia, watching it a ton,
Yeah.
like it was one of my favorites as a kid. That could be part of it, but there's just an element of Night of the Living Dead. It was the first one, but it's like they didn't have the budget. They didn't have the size, the scale. Like, and honestly, even later on, you don't see that size and scale. It is
No.
the biggest fucking movie in the Romero. Because, like, even when you get to, there's a lot of zombies in Day when they break through the gates at the end and stuff. But ultimately, like, you're in that base. There's a couple scenes here and there where they go into town, fly the helicopter into that city to like get supplies. But like overall, they keep that movie pretty contained and budgetary wise. That
It was on a set.
yeah. But at the mall, like there's a lot of fucking zombies. It's
The only one I would say that's bigger is Land of the Dead. More people, higher budget.
Yeah, way later.
I did see a quote about Romero talking about Land of the Dead, about how he disliked how much of a budget it was. Apparently, Dustin Hopper's cigar, the budget for it to keep him in cigars cost more than it cost to make Return Night of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, but then again, you're also talking the early 2000s versus 1968. So,
Yes.
And it was a shoestring budget movie for sure. But
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, the characters in it are incredible. All of them. I was marveling at it as I was watching it in theaters. Is like, they're all so distinct. Like I feel like, again, you're still like, yes, you're in an era now where Halloween exists or is about to exist. I don't remember exactly which one came out that year.
Dawn of the Dead came
Or
out before.
Halloween existed because Dawn of the Dead actually did not release in America till 79. It was released in like Italy in 78. Everyone calls it 78, but most of the world did not see that movie till 79. So Halloween existed. But there was an element where horror movies, and you'd see it later on too, where horror movies, like the characters were kind of disposable.
May 24th, 1979 in the USA. 2 points for Tad.
Yeah. So there's an element where they're just disposable. So the people are kind of two-dimensional, cardboard cutout, or they're just very whatever. I feel like Dawn of the Dead, each of those 4 are very distinct. They have their own personalities. And I know that sounds dumb because I feel like we just expect that with horror movies now, but that's not the way it was in 78.
Yeah.
You know, you just didn't you didn't have that. I mean, and again, I know it sounds dumb because Halloween came out a few months before, but those are so close together.
Sure.
But it's like, go look at movies earlier on. I mean, you know, like I mean, it's hard because a lot of times we only remember the absolute best horror movies, but go look at what mostly was coming out, and it was just like two-dimensional characters that didn't have a whole lot to them. They were just there to be fucking cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And with Dawn of the Dead, I feel like with those characters, you kind of actually saw unique characters. I love the mall setting. It was always fun as a kid, the idea. I mean, we grew up in an era where malls were still a thing. I mean,
yeah, we used to get dropped off in the mall and then call our mom, collect, and be like, ready for pickup.
Yeah, and then, I mean, my mom, I know your parents are a little bit older than mine.
Yeah.
My mom's era was a little bit more of the heavy mall ones where, like, that was, like, their life.
That's where they
like,
lived.
Us, I think we were just on that downhill slope
Yes.
of malls. But, like, kids now, it was funny because we always used to laugh watching it at Dawn of the Dead as a kid because when they're flying in, they're like, what is this place?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's one of those big indoor shopping centers, like those shopping malls. And it's just,
It's
they're,
foreign to them.
They're so ubiquitous to us in
Yeah.
the 90s when I was watching it that it was like, who the fuck doesn't know what a mall is?
How dumb are these guys?
But it's funny because it's now evolving the other way where it's like, do younger people really, like, does a Gen Zer grasp
No.
malls the same way that you and I did?
I mean, we do still have the mall that we grew up going to over here and everything
Yeah,
like that.
but is it really-
But is it the place that my daughter goes? No.
Yeah.
You know where she'd rather go? A park. She'd
Yeah.
rather go with her friends to a skate park or other things like that. She doesn't ever ask to go to the mall.
Yeah.
When I say we're going to the mall, it's not yes. You know, like for me, it was always yes. I'm going to
Yeah.
get something.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like yes. Let's go
your
to the
parent-
mall, food court.
Your
you
parents
know?
can go to the stupid clothing place that's boring, but you can go find the video game shop, or you can go find.
The CD store.
you
That
know-
was a big one for us. Is that we'd go find the.
I mean,
CD
for me, it
store.
was Suncoast, the movie store.
Yes.
Which that was the one. That
You
was,
ended up working there in after high school.
Yeah, I was a mall rat there for a
Yeah.
second. But yeah, that would be my main place too. I'm glad I worked there because that would have been my favorite place to go to the mall as a kid. It was
Yeah.
either KB Toys, the toy store,
Yeah.
or the movie store.
I remember going to the CD store, and I remember going to the there was always that one store that had swords.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
is there always a store that sold fucking swords?
I don't know.
It was so cool to look
And-
at. I'm like,
and-
oh my god, that's the sword from Lord of the Rings.
And
But-
incense.
and they had incense. They always had incense.
The other thing too is I think growing up wise, I know I talked about nostalgia being a big part of Dawn of the Dead. I
Yeah.
think the other part of the nostalgia is I would not have respected as a young child Night of the Living Dead because it was black and white.
Yeah.
When I was younger, black and white meant old, meant it wasn't going to be scary.
Right.
So
my wife just added the sword store and the incense always had dragon statues.
oh
too.
yeah.
And the dragon statues.
Yeah. But so ultimately, Dawn of the Dead being color would have been a big part of it.
Yeah.
For the early Tad, when Tad was 8 years old, going to Hollywood Video to rent something. Like, I'm never gonna grab Night. I did one time watch Night of the Living Dead for sure, and they did a
Dawn of the Dead was probably all checked out.
They did a remake of A Night of the Living Dead in the 90s where they basically reshot it, but it was Tom Savini, it was color, whatever. I've seen that
I
one a
never
number
knew
of
about
times.
that.
Yeah. So there's a nostalgia aspect, but also just everything about that movie. I just feel like it's tip top. Like it's
Yeah.
just there's just everything about that movie is great. Like
the biker gang.
the biker gang, the whole truck scene, dude. That freaking helicopter pad with the tall zombie that gets the top of his head chopped off, the kid zombies that are there. I mean, dude, everything about the movie is just incredible.
Yeah.
The effects are fucking out of this world.
Yeah.
I mean, just some of the best stuff. I mean, yeah, you'll get some stuff in the mid to late 80s that top it because true special effects just like I think peaked in the 80s, like
Yeah.
horror especially. Like in the 90s they were still riding on the coattails of everything the 80s achieved, but in the 80s like you saw stuff in the 80s it was like, dude, that is fucking real. And to
Yeah.
this day I'm still waiting for computer effects to catch up to how good 80s special effects are.
Yeah. And they're still not there because they don't do liquid well and they don't do fire well.
Yeah, fire's getting a little bit better though.
Is it?
It is getting like Game of Thrones. There was a lot of fire that was not real in that, but most of the time you didn't notice when it was not real or versus real.
Okay.
So they've gotten better on fire, but ultimately, yeah. For me, that's why I love Dawn of the Dead. It's just to me, I love the characters. Also, now as an adult, I can look back. Also, like the historical aspect of the black lead he wasn't
Yeah.
written to be black, or that was actually Night of the Living Dead as well. I think
Both of them had black leads.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have been
amazing.
It wouldn't have been the first one because that was Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But also to do the same thing, and Peter in the second movie is in Dawn of the Dead. It's just I love that, and then the consumerism element. You look at that where again you just see like them just getting almost just over engorged in fucking consumerism, and it makes them soft.
The rifle line always resonates in my head. The only person who wouldn't be able to hit anything with this, the person who got
the guy who can afford it,
the guy who had the cheese to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, I mean, the line, right? When there's no more room in hell.
Don't take my closing line.
The dead will walk the earth.
Damn it, Ted.
Dude, I mean, even when I was at the theater too, I recorded that.
Did you really?
Line and posted on social media because I'm like, I was the only one in the theater, so I don't give a fuck about.
Oh, were you by yourself?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Dude,
awesome.
the movie started at like almost 10. It was,
okay.
It was a late show, and so I was the only one. So when that line is coming, I pull my phone up and recorded it and posted it on social media.
Nice.
It's great, dude. I love that movie.
Yeah.
So that's
You hear that? Theaters, get him, get him.
dude. I won't even
Ban him
I won't
for
even
life.
turn my phone on if there's another person in the theater.
Yeah.
Even if they're in front of me, it's just there's just
No.
an element of whatever. But I'm the only one there. I'll make some exceptions.
You record a little bit for just for you.
For posterity.
Just for you. So I want to talk about a couple things that I love with one last question for you, and then it's going to be my little bit for a couple things. What are some good non-Romero zombie movies that I haven't watched? I know you mentioned one earlier.
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead
and there's a number of those too.
Is there?
Yeah. Zombie 2 is
I think
good.
you had me watch that one.
Really? I don't know.
When you set my horror fest, I think that's one that you had me watch. Hang on.
Yeah, I don't know if I did.
Nope, not Zombie 22. It's just Zombie 2.
Yeah, I'd have to, because honestly, my collection is
This is the one that takes place on the tropical island, right?
Maybe. See, I need to buy more zombie movies. I bet you most of them that you haven't seen are ones that is because I don't fucking own them.
No, I've never seen this. This is in New York.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I watched this.
The one where it starts.
This has the underwater zombie.
It starts with the one in the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had me watch this.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some research, but I need to buy some of them, like Return of the Living Dead. There's just some I just don't own, and I need to fix that.
That's a shame, Ted.
Yeah, I've got all the Romero movies for sure. I actually don't think I have 28 Days Later either. I need to get that one too. That's a great one.
Really?
Yeah.
I never saw any of the sequels for that. Did you?
Which one?
28 Days?
No, I haven't watched the sequels. Just the first one for now. I need to watch them though. I've heard they're good. So they're actually developing a new one, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
28 years later,
Something like that.
which would make sense. It's getting close to 28 years since that
It really
movie
is
came out.
getting close. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the images here for Zombie 2. I think I did watch this. So, Return of the Dead.
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. That's the one. I need to look up that one. So I want to have a little bit of time because I want to talk about two things that are near and dear to my heart with zombies. And one of the reasons why I'm such a huge zombie fan is that's Max Brooks' 2 books.
Oh yeah, I actually was going to mention that earlier. Is Max Brooks, dude.
Zombie Survival Guide and World War Z are two of the greatest things that have been put out. Now, World War Z, I gotta do not talk to me about that movie. Do not talk
There's
to
no
me about
movie.
that
What are you
video
talking
game. They are horrible.
I've never read the book actually, but
The book, I need you to listen to the audiobook.
the Zombie Survival Guide, though, dude, you
Yeah.
do not know how happy that made early 2000s Tad.
Yeah.
Because that's a book I could have written just having been one that
Mm-hmm.
watched zombies. And back in our clerks days of working retail and sitting around talking geeky shit all day, we've talked about it at length, like rules to survive zombie movies and stuff like that, or zombie situations. I feel like most of the Max Brooks book, I was just like, yes, that's exactly right.
That's exactly what you should do is try to find somewhere to climb out of their way.
And the whole
they can't climb.
Yeah, there was never a thing where it was like a revelation where I was like, I never thought of that. I was always like, yes, I've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ride a bike. Don't take a vehicle.
Yeah.
You
like,
know?
why would you ride a motorcycle?
Walk instead of getting into a car.
Well, that's asking a lot to have me walk.
My wife says, hey, I've actually listened to World War Z. So, Tad, for you, Zombie Survival Guide obviously is a huge thing, but you've never read World War Z. I'm going to recommend you go pick it up on Audible.
You've seen Dead Alive.
I have seen Dead Alive.
That's a good zombie movie.
It is.
That's a great one. It's
pretty good.
I kick ass for the Lord.
No, I haven't seen that one.
What?
No, I haven't seen that one. You've always quoted that to me, but
the Peter Jackson.
No, I've never seen it.
Dude.
I thought that's
Well,
one
I
of the
wish
ones
they'd
you
fucking release it, dude. It's out of
Yeah.
print right now. They're supposed to be coming out with a 4K, but last time I looked, the DVD was like $200 on eBay because it's
Really?
out of print and it's so sought after. But
Jeez.
sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I'm just
But you need to listen to the World War Z audiobook. I'm going to read you just a few of because they didn't have one narrator. Do you know the premise? I think I've told you about the premise of World War Z before, right?
yeah.
The interviewer is Max Brooks himself, which is amazing. But here's a few of the actors.
Son of Mel Brooks too.
He is the son of Mel Brooks,
Yeah.
which got to call that out.
Yeah.
Amazing for him to have his own little niche away from his dad's comedy. That he's such a zombie fan.
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion plays a character. Paul Sorvino
Oh, yeah.
plays one.
That's the boss from Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm. Simon Pegg, Martin Scorsese, Denise Crosby, Mark Hamill, David Ogden Stiers,
Winchester.
Cal Penn, Alan Alda,
Hawkeye.
Rob Reiner, Frank Darabont,
All Hail Frank.
John Turturro,
Oh yeah.
and
Nope.
Alfred Molina.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
No one fucks with the Jesus. Those are just a few of the people that are in World War Z
That's-
audiobook.
That's good.
And they just play different characters because
What's
he's going.
the length on it?
It's 7 hours.
See,
So-
that's why I've never listened to.
Tad, I'm telling you, dude, it is worth it.
Oh,
It is
7 hours.
It is life changing.
Oh.
It is so good though. Like, I know it's short. I know you want more. I wish there was a second one. I wish that he had fleshed it out and made it longer. But it's an interview. It's a hey, what did you do in this situation with the people? And then they got to tell their stories, and it's so unique the way it's done. It's also one of the only times that you ever see mankind survive. Like, I know that we talked about Romero, and like that's the thing is that
Yeah.
there's always the fear of that, but the threat's not gone. It's still there. Like, they talk about it in the post world, is that zombies still exist. They still have to deal with them coming out of bodies of water and unfreezing from the north and coming down south and everything.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I love World War Z. My wife just listened to it last year for the first time. She loved it. The one thing I will say is that keep up the Wikipedia, so you're like, wait, who? There's some, obviously you'll recognize Nathan, Mark Hamill. You'll recognize Simon Pegg. But then you're like, man, this guy kind of sounds familiar. You'll go look him up. I bet you there's names on here that I didn't say that you of course know.
Yeah.
And everything like that. So, Ted, if I have to buy it for you, please, will you listen to it?
Oh.
Like, what do I got to do to get you to listen to this for me?
I don't know. I'll have to figure it out for sure.
I mean, like really, what do we got to do?
Denise Crosby.
I said that.
I didn't hear you say that.
I did say that.
That's Tasha Yar
Yeah,
from Next Generation.
yeah, from Star Trek.
Jerry Ryan. That's 7 of 9.
Oh, jeez. See, I told you there'd be people you would recognize.
Oh man, I love that. Yeah, that's
Carol says watching Tad get intrigued is amazing.
oh,
He won't do it though, guys.
7
I'll tell you.
hours. That's really
It's
short,
too
man.
short. It's
That's-
too short. I can't spend a credit on it, even though Peter's recommending it. Calling you out, Tad.
Hey, I will say there's been a few times I've had some excess credits, and I've even gone to look at Harry Potter ones because you gave me the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But even the other ones are like 10 hours or short.
You
man.
hit book 3, and they get long enough for it past your length. It's only the first 2. Nice try.
Dr. Octopus.
Yeah,
F. Murray Abraham. He's great.
yeah. I want you to listen to this because it's phenomenal. I think I gave my physical copy to someone, and they never gave it back.
Oh,
So I don't think I have that or the.
Well, you're
Zombie
saying the
Survival
audio.
Guide.
You're saying the audiobook is worth.
The audiobook is amazing. No, I want to have it myself, and I don't have
Oh
them
yeah.
anymore. So, where do you put?
Okay.
What?
$10. So maybe I'll buy it.
There you go.
I'm not spending a
Not
fucking credit.
Not a credit, but
For
it's on
7
sale.
hours,
Is
geez.
it on sale?
I think so, yeah.
There you go.
It's the best. Better be. Yeah, 30% off. Usually $15.
Carol
so.
says adult peer pressure.
Yeah, well, I admit that I have my rule, man. And there's
I know.
been some times I've like broken it for like a 9-hour book, but any lower than that, dude, 7 hours. That's like not even two Dan Carlin podcasts are longer than that. I get those for free.
This is worth it, Ted. I'm telling you.
Oh man.
It's worth it.
See, what they need to do is they need to merge the zombie survival guide and that into one audiobook, and that would be
I would love that.
that'd be a good purchase.
Here, before we get into the story of World War Z, is the Zombie Survival Guide. In case of a zombie outbreak, follow these simple rules. And just have someone read the Zombie Survival Guide.
Yeah,
You would listen to that?
maybe.
I'd just skip it until I got to World War Z. I love World War Z. It's so good.
Yeah, I definitely need to. I know I've heard it from reputation, and Max Brooks's work in the survival guide is probably enough to carry me into
Yeah.
giving that a listen. But
Yeah, Carol says the star power in the voices makes up for the shortness.
maybe.
It does.
I
I mean,
don't
you their names, sir.
Yeah,
There's some star power in this. Mark
Yeah.
Hamill.
Yeah. Does he do Joker?
No, he's a guy.
Oh, okay.
He's a guy.
Still know his voice though. So
Oh, you will.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Carol says she has she used a credit on it too, even though it's shorter than 10 hours. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, zombies though. I will say I haven't been as heavy into them as they've gotten as popular as I have because it's just I almost feel like they're overexposed a little bit. But I'll always love them. They're I
near
just,
and dear to your heart.
Oh yeah, I mean I love slasher movies. I love zombie movies. Like horror is one of my favorite genres, but the subgenre wise, outside of slasher, zombies might be number 2.
I like possession movies.
Possessions are great for sure.
I do love a good possession
But
movie.
for me,
zombies are number
for
one.
me, gore is just, and that's why I love slashers because I think there really is a true art to a splatter film.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you can say it's not as elevated as freaking Midsummer, but it's like, dude, the freaking art of just brutalizing some teenagers that are having sex and drinking and doing drugs,
Yeah.
like there's a fucking art to that, man.
I'm gonna use elevated horror against you.
It's
I hope you know that.
It's. I mean, I do have knives around me, sir. So
Did you just threaten me on air?
I'm just pointing out an unrelated fact that I have knives around me. That's all.
Next time you say, "Hey, Black Phone 2 tickets are on sale," I'll be like, "Is that elevated horror? I don't think that's elevated horror enough for me."
You're gonna go to your car one of these days with a jolly chimp in the back of it.
I did see a Jolly Chimp at a Halloween decorated house.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I got a picture of it. I meant to put it in the Discord. I must have forgot. So I'll throw it in there.
love that.
Yeah.
But
That's about it for zombies. Unless you got anything else you want to add.
all hail George Romero.
I know, right?
Hopefully, Dead Alive comes out on 4K soon. Because
Yeah.
if you haven't seen that, I need to get
Dead
you on
Alive
that.
and Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, the other one that your thing didn't mention as well is what about the B-rate zombie movies like Black Sheep?
It talks about them in there. That's one of the things that happened in the 90s. Is that it talks about the return to I don't remember. I closed Wikipedia, but
That's fine. No, I'm just saying.
It talks about. I kind of glossed over it
but
with
like
it.
the Black Sheep
Yeah, where the sheep become zombies, and
It's
there's more sheep than people in New Zealand.
in New Zealand, yeah, it's a great movie, man.
I mentioned that drinking game to someone the other day that we joked about. That take a drink every time someone says sheep. He's like, "I've seen that movie. You die."
I did it. I didn't talk about it.
Oh, you did do it?
Yeah. Me and my
that
brother
you
and my
did it.
dad, man, we did it. And it's funny because early in the movie, they lull you into a false sense of security because they keep saying animal and creature and stuff. So it's just like,
You're like,
this-
"Oh, we're gonna be
this
fine."
isn't that bad. But then around the midway point, dude, I was as close to blackout drunk without getting blackout drunk. It was dangerous.
You didn't quit.
It was dangerous. And it got to the point where there's times we had to like pause because we were behind, like we were having to take shots, and it was just like, wait, I'm like 2 shots behind, so we'd pause the movie to like catch up on the shots.
No, there's a sheep over there. Oh, there's sheep's behind us. Oh my God, there's more sheep. And you're like, fuck. Ugh.
Yeah, and another one that's got a really big popularity right now that's not comedic or B-rate is it Last Train to Busan? The Japanese one came
Yeah.
out like 16. I've actually been circling that one for a while, so I might have to buy that. And,
Sounds interesting.
yeah, sounds really good. I've heard
Yeah.
nothing but good things. They're making an American remake, but I don't know.
Mm,
I'm always nervous about those kind of things.
yeah. Americans fuck things up.
Yeah. Especially, dude, the Japanese know how to do fucking horror, man.
Yeah, they do.
Their shit's fucking weird.
The Grudge.
I love horror from other countries though, because everyone's cultures are different. So, dude, go to look at Latin horror. There's some fucking heinous shit in those movies, man.
Yeah.
There's some fucking absolutely depraved, horrendous shit.
Carol says that it's good.
Yeah, I need to watch it for sure. But no, yeah, I need to dive in to that because I know they're doing a remake. But yeah, zombies are great. I'll make
me a list.
I'll fatten up my collection.
You make me a list.
Because I'm sure most of what I would give you is probably shit that I don't own,
Yeah.
which is probably the reason I've never had you watch it, is because I've just never owned it.
Yeah.
So
You make me a list and let me know.
shall do.
I'll report back.
Can do.
But that's it for zombies, guys
Yeah. So
and gals.
yeah, that's
And everything in between.
it's good stuff. Yeah, and there's something fun about zombie movies. They're so grisly.
They're great.
And that's my favorite word is grisly.
Lots of deglovings.
Oh yeah, lot of. I wish Hayden was in here.
I know, innards and whatnot.
All right, so that puts us over to. I moved us back to closing argument, so most of it said that instead of the main topic. But yeah, main topic, we did have it up there because I moved back. So then if you want to email either of us, you can do that at peter@geekeryabides.com or tad@geekeryabides.com. Tad is TADD. Let us know if you have any feedback or any show ideas. Like Peter mentioned earlier, this actually came from a show recommendation. So
From an email. From Carol.
So that's awesome too, and I do appreciate it, Carol. Thank you, because honestly, we would have gotten to zombies eventually, but I don't think we probably would have got to it this year, and I'm glad we did because this has been a good conversation.
Yeah.
Zombies are fun. Anytime you could see people's insides on their outside, it's always fun.
Absolutely.
All right, so that is the emails, and then next time we've talked about it and teased it a number of times before. We are finally getting to Band of Brothers,
Yay!
which is now on Netflix.
Right, a couple months before Masters of the Air.
Masters of the Air, exactly.
The sequel.
Yeah, we will be covering that in a fortnight from now on the 17th of November. That should be a lot of fun to talk about Band of Brothers, one of the earlier things that you and I bonded over. Yeah, it's a great one, man. One of the, in my opinion, it's still one of the greatest things ever put to film.
You're not the only one that thinks that.
It's easy to with miniseries because I almost separate those. They're not shows and they're not movies. They're kind of in their own little spot. But dude, there's a lot of fucking genius miniseries.
Chernobyl.
Dude. So yeah, Chernobyl, exactly.
Chernobyl comes to mind instantly now. It's in the vein with Band of Brothers.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the Pacific is there as well. But yeah, so we'll be talking about that next time, and then we will be talking about that next time. Unlike the last two times.
We're doing the full series, right?
Yep. Full series, diving in, and then that we will have from there three.
We forgot to mention it earlier. Go watch the Echo trailer. Echo for Marvel drop.
Oh God,
yeah, we completely forgot to mention that.
I meant to put that in the announcements, or the news, but I forgot.
If you're still here, great for hanging out. Go watch the Echo trailer. It's awesome.
Yeah, it looks fun. It looks real brutal. But yeah, Band of Brothers next time. This time we'll actually cover it. Unlike the last two times we've teased it and things have come up to get in our way. Then we'll have 3 more episodes of the year. 2 for Peter, 1 for me, because Band of Brothers next time is mine. So 2 more for each of us, include the rest of the way out. So yeah, we will sign off. Me, as I always do, by saying love what you love, and to hell with anyone that would want to shame you for loving what you love. Let your geek flag fly high. That is a fun tongue twister.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it for me. What about you?
When there's no more room in hell, the dead shall walk the earth.
Indeed. See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.